What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 48 of the Pylon Show. I am one of the hosts, Mr. In Control, joined by the number one hater of the entire European scene, the guy that believes them all to be significantly worse than the NA scene. It's my good buddy here, Dan Artosis Stemkowski. Dan, thanks for always being here, buddy. You're great.
Yeah, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction for me, and really, truly accurate. Happy to have another Pylon episode.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. Dan, before we get started with our guests and stuff like that, I mean, what do you think it'll take for the European scene to catch up to the bottom tier NA scene? Like,
Man, that was out of control. Watching my Twitter blow up when Fear Dragon made that tweet. Like, for anyone who is unaware of what it was. I made like an offhanded comment about, you know how like Terrans and Zergs team up to get Protoss nerfed all the time. They whine together for that. I just mentioned that like the European scene's a little bit like this, stating their skill, you know, to get the more tournaments and like then Fear Dragon like added some to it and like made a tweet, made a clip, and it blew up. And it was like, guys, I know you're good. It was so weird. Anyways,
some of my favorite trolls. Fear Dragon did
loves the European scene. They're very strong.
Of course. Fear Dragon did one of my favorite things, which is like, and I do this on purpose. I think he did on accident because he's such a pure-hearted good guy. But like, there'll be a room full of people, and one person will be like, "I don't really like cheese, and here's my reasons why." And then I'll be like, "I agree. Everyone that makes cheese should be murdered and thrown out into the river or something like that." He's like, "Well, that's not what I was saying." It's kind of what Fear Dragon did. Like, Dan makes this comment about Europeans like a little bit more antiquated than what. Fear Dragon's like, I agree. The NA scene is just as good as the European scene. And, the Europeans got pretty upset when they woke up the next day. Anyways, it was funny. Trolling aside, we got two wonderful guests here. I didn't know, but due to the 1-year anniversary episode, Mr. Rifkin he's up there. I think this is your 9th appearance or something like that. You're one of the most... Am I right?
I think 9. I've been on here like 3 times, I think, maybe 4.
Oh, that's
now you're lying. Jesus Christ!
I don't think it's 9
that's
though.
The weirdest thing to lie about. Rick.
We had the graphic. Yeah, are you too cool for this? Is that what's happening right now? You're like, no, I think it's been like 3. You guys begged me to come on here. Look, I can't remember how many.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know. I was just off the top of my head. Like 9 seemed high, but yeah, no, this is my 9th episode. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
There you go. See, that's what I wanted. Cobra's busy doing other stuff, so we can't pull up the graphic and really lay it on you, but I think that's a lot. Anyways, we're happy to have Rifkin on here. It was originally going to be a meme episode, and we have a special guest coming down the pipeline. But instead of a memer, we got a super straightforward, very serious guy here, NA player, recently eliminated from WCS, and he's going to talk a little bit about that journey. Mr. RuFF SC2, thank you for coming on, dude.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. And let's just say it was a pretty rough journey.
Oh, Jesus. Did you just pun off your own name?
I do it all the time.
I can't believe that. Every time someone's like, wow, he's not really in control of his feelings, I just want to die inside. Wait, there's the graphic. I can't see it, Cobra. Where is he? Rifkin.
I'd say
it was 4, or is that 4 now, Cobra?
It's 5 now. It was 4.
So you forgot about 2 appearances, Rifkin?
I'm pretty sure this is 9, dude. Okay, like for real.
He's been on here 9 times. I counted.
Yeah. Well, some of those count as 2, I think.
See, that 4 looks like a 9, so I get the misunderstanding. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah. Fair enough. Anyways, that's the show we have assembled for you guys. We got some great topics. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But first, of course, I must lay on the floor in a pool of my own tears and beg for you all to give us more money. We are slowly but surely building an exoskeleton. We need about 300,000 more patrons. And eventually what we're going to do is make a Mecha Dan, because it's come to our attention that Tasteless has started his own podcast to rival ours. And of course, the only way to kind of flush this out would be for Dan to do single combat with Tasteless. Tasteless has a atrophied and decrepit old man's body, so it would appear to be an easy fight, but Tasteless has some kind of weird, I don't want to quite call it mutant strength, or it's just the years of punishment he's done to his liver. He's kind of immune to physical damage, so Artosis needs to be able to do some pretty powerful attacks. So we're going to need you guys to support us. And you can support us through the following ways. First and foremost, our Patreon, which actually grew. Some of you signed up, and a few of you guys like kind of contacted us and said, hey, I just signed up for your Patreon. Love the content. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's just, like I always say, it's just amazing that it's going on and up. And this is We're proud of it. Thank you guys. We'll just keep on building it. Appreciate that. Yeah. So if you're wondering, if you can join up on this, what would be the benefits? We're always working to improve this, and probably in the near future we'll look for more ways to incentivize it. But for right now, you can ask us questions. You can get the VOD immediately. That's one of the biggest perks, I would say. Is a lot of people are like, I don't want to wait, and I don't want to sub to that stupid InControl guy. Well, you don't have to. You can just be a Patreon supporter, and then Cobra works really hard to get that VOD to you immediately.
Within a couple hours, yep.
Within a couple hours, because it does actually take time.
Nice.
Very, very cool. The other way you can support us is, of course, through Matcherino. We have a really fun show match that we're putting together here. We'll talk more about that as it takes shape, but that is awesome. In the meantime, you can just go into it in Cobra. What is today's word? It is International Penguin Day. Dan, how do you feel about that? I know you're a big penguin fan.
International Penguin Day. Let's think about that for a
World
moment. First off,
Penguin
they
Day.
only live in the southern hemisphere. So international, you say? Very odd. Very
heard
few
of
countries actually have
Artosis?
penguins native to them. How would this be an international
Let
day?
me
for this
here.
animal?
You know
I
what?
don't
We have a guest that can answer that. Now, Rifkin, you're from a northern hemisphere place called Canada. How do you feel about penguins?
They're cute. They just knighted one in Finland, which was kind of a cool, funny thing to see.
What?
Not even
They-
a native of Finland, as that's in the northern hemisphere.
Dude, they rolled out the
knighted
army.
one?
They all just salute this penguin. It was like cawing at them, like trying to establish dominance. But they have like a Sir Penguin like in the army now. It's pretty cool.
Wait, Finland. Hang on.
Is this
So
real?
many questions. First of all, Finland has knights. They have a military, and they knighted a penguin. Is that what you said?
Yeah, dude. He's like higher ranking than almost every soldier in the army. It's kind of ridiculous.
We live in a weird time.
Is he a good fighter? What did he do to get this?
Yeah. Well,
How do I
nothing.
become
It's
a
the
knight?
Finnish army.
You know what?
yeah.
I think survived, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. It was Norway, not Finland. My bad. I just had to double check that.
Yeah. It was
Oh.
knighted before Cyril, which has
Makes
me.
more sense now.
That upsets my
I know,
warrior
so
spirit.
much better.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you can go to Matcherino. The link is in our show notes. It'll probably be put in the chat. Type in penguin. No, a lot of our. Oh Christ! There's actually a video of this. This is the happiest moment of my life.
I can't even. What am I looking at here? Why is
Look
this
at the
thing
penguin looking around at everybody. It's like, that's right. I'm a knight. You're not a knight. You're not a knight. You're not a knight. You're not a knight. Don't pet me. Get away from me, redhead. No.
Yeah, there's International Everything Day, right? You guys know this because of your codes. One thing that I've never understood though is, well, you've got International Donut Day, International Penguin Day.
Yeah.
You ever notice nobody brought up International 420 Day on the day? Like not a single company was tweeting about the only actually recognized holiday, quote unquote. Like,
Yeah. That is so weird how all these companies didn't recognize 420 like that.
I'm just saying, there's one actual international day that everyone recognizes, and it's the one that no one actually recognized.
Rifkin, you might be
Doesn't
honest.
Norway
You might be
have
honest,
something
man.
better to do than knight a penguin?
Dude, does America have a knighted penguin? I don't think so. Okay.
We don't have knights in America. We don't have knights.
Yeah, you're right. That's one of
Yeah,
our
giant
most.
fighting robots, dude.
Yeah, it's so stupid that we don't have knights.
If-
Here,
But
yes.
the thing is,
Go
that
ahead.
penguin's not like. Why did it get that? Rifkin, you know. Come on, tell us.
Dude, I'm not a chronicler of the archives. I don't know what happened to get that penguin there. I saw the same video you did.
Well, anyways,
It's like watching a
You
movie
didn't
with my
look into
mom.
it
I'm like
more?
2 minutes in, like, who is he? I don't know, Mom. We're watching the same movie. Like,
it's-
Moms do that.
you broke down. King. Oh my God! By the way, it wasn't Finland. It was Norway. You actually lied to us.
Oh.
Finland's way too serious for that. Norway is exactly the place that would knight a goddamn penguin.
yeah, a snoot, not a Cyril. Understand?
The guards
Understandable.
adopted him because they often toured the zoo during their visits to the Edinburgh Military Tattoo. It says, well, that can't be right. Literally, the notes for this says the Edinburgh Military Tattoo. Also, this happened in 2008, so... Are you guys trying to ruin my show? It's episode
Show's
48. Can we
ruined.
make it
Let's
to
start it
50?
over.
Can we make it to
Let's
50,
start the
please?
show over. This is
Just
terrible.
replay the
Anyways,
intro.
Cobra's going to show you. Here, hang on. And Cobra, let me take over the computer real quick for 1 second. Just as a quick
This is my
aside.
ninth episode, everybody.
Guys, so you go to Matcherino, the link will be in there. You type in penguin just like this, but let me show you what happens. And this is my concentration level. Very often. Now, granted, I'm about to tease Matt, and for people that are sensitive about this, Matt is incredible. He does a lot of work. He's usually doing 5 things at once, so this is why it happens. But on screen, you can see it. Matt will be like, the code is penguin. Penguin.
Penguin.
Penguin.
Penguin.
Penguin. And he's like doing this while I'm like, just type it. And he'll go like this. He'll get really close, and he'll be like, penguin.
I
All
love
right.
how, by the way, the little code thing's trying to recognize the prompt every time you get it's kind of correct, and
Yeah.
it says $1, but then immediately disappears.
Well, we'll know if Matt is still my friend after the show, I suppose. But anyways, that's one of the funny things that goes on behind the scenes. You guys can't see it. Just type in penguin like that, and you'll contribute.
Penguin. Penguin.
Well, because I can see it on the preview screen, so I see what he's trying to do, and I'm like, you're almost there. It helps the prize pool, and of course, every week we say this, but if you're listening to this on YouTube or the next day or 5 days later, please do go in and put in this code. It will max out eventually, and then you can't put in the code, but every time you guys try and fill this up, it helps us out in a tremendous way. And of course, a shout out to Matcherino for being such a big supporter of the scene. Rifkin, you do a lot of work with Matcherino, right? It's prize pool stuff. Pretty
Yeah, they're
cool.
great to work with. I've actually, like, not to fluff them up too much, but I've had no better luck than with them when it comes to crowdfunding stuff for tournaments. They've just been absolutely excellent. So
Yeah, they're
good
great
people to work with.
And guys, they support StarCraft a lot. Like I said, they're working with Rifkin. They work with us. They work with Zombie, Wardy. If you're like all these people, please do what you can to support them because it's a pretty cool part of the scene. And of course, through Matcherino, you can buy some lovely merchandise that Matt and team have been working on. These shirts are so funny. And there's Rifkin on that one too, right there. Boop. You can see him.
Wait, what? When
That's
was
you.
this made? I need to order this like right now. I had no idea this
Yeah.
was a shirt.
That does look
I got
pretty
your
cool.
permission for this, Rifkin. Don't you remember this?
I didn't think you were serious.
Well, of course he was.
Cardboard. Hello.
We don't goof around here on the Pylon Show. We're dead serious about everything, man. So anyways, yeah, thank you. Great stuff there. We got some good events coming up, of course, for BlizzCon. If I don't know, we'll try to organize something, but if a lot of you can, if you buy merch, we'll try to get together and take a picture or something like that. That'd be really cool. We'll do all kinds of fun stuff. We got a great scene, and thank you guys for all of that. And then, of course, AFKT, as per usual, Mr. Lycan is producing some teas, a StarCraft guy as well. You guys can drink it, order it through there, and use the code Pylon. Save you a little bit of money, and of course, support their sponsor, supports the people in the scene. And that is it, I believe. And just as general recommendation, go through the website, of course. We talked a little bit about this with the Patreon. We have a really lovely website. It's actually really cool. If you are a Patreon supporter, this is where you go to ask the questions. And then it'll actually tell you when the next episode is. Which I do have to say, because I give a lot of shit, so I need to give compliments. I have not been getting as many people ask me when the next episode is. It's actually, there might be an end in sight. I never thought that was possible, but I think it actually might come a day.
You just mentioned it.
I know.
I know. Yeah, man, that was a rookie move.
No, I stare the abyss in the face on purpose. Like my dream goal is not that I don't actually experience this; it's that I taunt it and still it doesn't happen. That's what I want. Anyways, those are our sponsors and the lovely ways you can support the show. Mr. Artosis, if you could take us through This Week in StarCraft, that'd be great.
Okay, I gotta say one more quick thing before we do that.
Okay.
Because our wonderful Alessander has posted for us some more things about the Penguin. Apparently, they visit the Penguin every few years to give it a new promotion.
No,
So
it's like a god
Here's
king.
my big question, right? Like in a post-apocalyptic world where a huge chunk of the population dies, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
you see this in movies where it's like, oh, this person, you're the 58th in command, like now you're the president. How far down do we have to go that this
Norway?
Penguin officially runs Norway? That's my
What I
question.
kind of want to say, Dan, is I don't care how far we have to go. Let's just
Well-
get there. Let's look like everyone band together.
The real question is, how do we know he doesn't already run it? I mean, he's getting promoted. Who the hell made that decision? Only a
Yeah.
penguin would.
Yeah.
Well, he's
Well,
sporting that tuck, huh?
Okay. Well, now we know what we need to do. I'm not saying let's make a king a penguin or a penguin a king, but if it happens, I think there's
it
a lot
would
of
be
people.
cool.
Yeah.
Their
Oh.
imports of fish go up. It would be really interesting. The different
Yeah, the way their economy would metamorphosize would be pretty interesting, I guess.
They stop all their oil mining, the country is going to go bankrupt, man. The penguin doesn't want oil. Okay.
Okay. I'm glad we don't have a meme episode right now. That's good.
No. Yeah, that's really good. All right. This week in StarCraft. This is already my favorite episode ever, by the way. I'm having a great time. All right.
Get your shit together, Dan.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Tasteless can't touch this. I'm just saying. No matter how many times he tries to bring up the Pylon show so he can plug his show on GSL, can't touch this.
My God. Okay, here we go. The Banshee Tournament. Zombie Grub was away, so Ragnarokette filled in as the caster. It looks like this week was won by Deity. You can go ahead and sign up on the challenge, and Zombie Grub normally runs that. Okay. Alpha X Pro Series. Of course, Eric's not winning enough nowadays.
No, he's not.
So he went ahead and beat Rodson 5-1, casted by Swikart and Falcon Paladin. Check that over on the Alpha X SC2 channel on Africa TV. Also Alpha X. Looks like we had Dark Unnamed defeated Dark.
Yeah.
Dark Unnamed.
It is what it is, man.
Dark.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Okay. Well, congratulations to Dark Unnamed. Dark must be feeling just not too good about that. All right. You can check out Freaking TV Alpha X ESP.
God.
Oh, that's good. Imagine if I lost a show match to someone. Yeah.
Artosis unnamed.
Artosis unnamed beats me. I'm like, what? Should I be flattered? All right. The China Team Championships 2019 Season 1 is continuing forward. They are playing a whole lot of matches. Looks like Triumph Song Gaming is winning right now. That's a team that has Solar and Hero, amongst many others on it. Yeah, Jin Air is actually not doing so well. Look at that. Rank 7 right now with a 1-1 score. So,
Correct.
yeah, very interesting stuff. You can check that out. I guess they're on Twitch for Wardy is doing the cast there, so check that out. All right, the NA Apprentice Tournament continues forward. Starkiller and BioIce, the last two to get out of their groups, and that's on Fear Dragon's channel on Twitch. I'm not sure exactly what day that the next round starts, but check it out within the show notes. The Master Swan Open / Sea Duckling Open, this weekly tournament that's either up to Diamond or up to Masters 2, did conclude. XPA won the most recent one. Check it out on twitch.tv / cranky _
Look at some of those names, by the way. Can you spot my favorite?
Panfunkio?
Nope.
Anal Pro Brush.
It's good ID. All right.
Damn it, Jeff.
It's the only thing I saw, too. I was like, whoop.
Of course it is.
One of my people. Guarantee that's an Australian, too. They get me. They know it.
Oh, my God. All right, enough of that. More about Eric. Sentimentiento Latino Tournament number 51 occurred. Our Lord and Savior Eric ends up winning once again. Number 52 will be played in 2 days.
It only has one picture online, and they just keep doing different colorings to it to make it look different.
Yeah. Oh my God, he has won so many tournaments at this point. It's
He's killing it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
People want to know if Maru's the GOAT. I'm not interested in that. I want to know if Eric's the GOAT. I'm worried right now for Kelliger and for Cham and for Special and stuff. Eric's coming for him. They're resting on their laurels, and he's not. All right, Olimo League, number 153 occurred, and Trap ended up beating Leenock in the finals. Of course, Olimo League, fantastic tournament, the English language stream run by Maynard. You can check it out there. And the Patreon for, it's like patreon.com / Olimoly, the second best Patreon on the internet next to the Pylon show. You get a ton of great replays. It's a wonderful tournament. Check it out, support.
Look at the language streams, by the way. Someone's memeing pretty hard here. I like it. Wardy as American, Maynard as Australian American with a flag.
Oh yeah.
And then Take TV is Austrian
German Austrian, which I believe is just German. Yeah.
Yeah, that's getting clever. All right. The Thermi Cup number 3 finished up. Uthermal holding a LAN tournament over in the Netherlands. And Zane won it over Kelliger in the finals. Very impressive stuff. Looks like our boy Roddy even made it to the round of 8 there and took a couple games off the soon-to-be champion. So cheers to Inzane for winning the tournament, and a big thanks to Uthermal for hosting it. Looks like he had a really good prize pool as well. Cheesadelphia 9 finished up this past weekend, and Massa ended up winning. I don't think that's a huge surprise to anyone. Definitely one of the favorites going into it. Beat someone named Rob in the finals 4-0. Yeah, talked a little bit about that last week.
Future Terran couldn't make it. His flight got canceled. It was Easter weekend, so he couldn't reschedule, unfortunately.
Oh, I was wondering about that. I didn't want to bring it up because he was saying he thought he would probably win.
Oh, yeah.
And then I looked, and he wasn't in the bracket, and I was like, guess he got wrecked in the group stage.
No. It was really too bad.
It was the last one. He had a really epic finish, too, right? That's a shame he couldn't make it.
Yeah. Well, cheers to Cheesadelphia. They have a lot more tournaments coming up in the future, and we will let you know about them when they get announced. Future of Terran, though, was not too busy playing Kings of the North. Beat Estrella in the finals 2-0. You can check all of this out on eschamp.com/KOTN5. Base Trade TV Friday night Direct Strike 3v3 tournament. Why don't you tell us about that, Rifkin?
TLDR, Direct Strike's an arcade game. A lot of us played it for the Twitch Rivals thing, and it stuck, and I've loved playing it, and our community's been playing it a lot, so I got in contact with the map creator. He's actually really cool. On the load screen right now, there's actually a thing that says April 26th, Base Trade TV Tournament. Check out their Discord and stuff. He's been super awesome to work with. He or she, I guess I don't know, but yeah, basically, if you guys want to play, it's an arcade game. There's over $200 in prizing. It's going to be this Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, and even if you don't know how to play, it's so simple to pick up. Like you might as well just sign up. It's really gonna take like 5 minutes.
And it's really fun. I had never played any use map settings, but for that Twitch thing, this was like the highlight. It was so damn fun.
Dude, your guys' went so long too. You guys went the distance for yours.
And we were always leading. Those guys just would not get out. It was insane. Vibe and Jim Rising and me, very good team.
Damn. Sounds like a few ex-pro gamers there, turned commentators or streamers.
All of us, yeah.
Right.
Except for Jim Rising. He's a current commentator.
Yes. The Base Trade TV Momentum Cup. Rifkin, why don't you tell us about that one too?
Oh, cool. I didn't know we were going to be talking about that. Yeah, it was an experimental format I wanted to try out to see how it would go, because I've had experiences where raising large amounts of prize money seems to be very difficult. Trying to get $3,000 together in like one go seems to be very difficult. But I was like, what if we could do $100, but every single day? So the idea is that I put $100 in on Monday, and if we raise the $100, then I would use that for the next cup, and the next cup, and the next cup. So the first day on Monday this week, we raised $119. So cool, that's tomorrow. Tuesday raised $432 or something, and then this morning's cup raised like a little over $325, I think, something around there. So we're keeping the momentum rolling, man. Until we run out of money for these cups, I'm just gonna keep doing them.
So quick aside here in the end, though, just to go to it's $100 a cup. He just explained the whole thing.
What?
Love it.
Dan didn't understand what you just explained. Is I think what's happening here.
Oh yeah, so basically,
when you get $400, do you put all of that into the cup, or do you just push it into the next?
Right, so that would basically supply 4 cups, and the idea is that once we reach 8, that'll be like a cap, and whatever excess money we raise beyond that, we'll just host like a giant finals with. So maybe it'll be $23, maybe it'll be $2,300. Right now, we have all 8 cups funded with an excess of about $200 or so. So as we do all of next week, we should have enough money to do a really cool finals, I think. It's a neat format. I never thought was going to take off the way it did, but we've had some really great games and like some amazing signups too. Like some of the best signups that I've seen in like the last 2 years. Each of these cups has had like amateurs show up, sure, but like a lot of pros too. Like the bracket being shown on the screen right now. You know, this was today's cup. You had Rainer off racing and he kicked ass. You had TL, you had Harstum. It was Dream, Clem. Like it was a really great bracket.
Yeah, and as a quick aside, in the end there, it's an NA player in Liquid TLO barely losing to a Russian Protoss and Strange. Pretty interesting. And TLO 2 at Harstum, so that European scene better be on the lookout. TLO is a Canadian player. doing pretty well.
Seems like he's improved since moving over here.
Yeah.
It's funny I say over here. I'm in Korea. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're in Korea. What does here mean?
His heart's in
I
America
identify as so many different things right now. It's crazy.
Fair enough.
All right, the pizza pie bi-weekly. By the way, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Rifkin. I think that's super cool. But I think it would be really funny if you had the 8 hosted, and then for the finals it was like $23, and then
I know that's kind of what I'm afraid, because everyone's gonna be satisfied. We raised all the money; they won't need to like do it anymore.
All right, the Pizza Pie Bi-Weekly Season 1. Eric didn't win. He lost in the finals against Gerald, a very up-and-coming player from Europe.
Yeah, and that's not even the big news for me. If you look at this bracket a little bit closer, in those semifinals, we have Starkiller losing 1-2 closely to the eventual winner. That could have been a 21st pizza, and it ended up not going to Starkiller. So I think the big question is, he's won 20 pizzas, but that was a while ago. Is Starkiller completely washed up? Ruff, your thoughts?
I was actually going to say if Starkiller was the one who beat Eric there, just because I've heard of how many pizzas he's won. So I don't know really what to think about it, because you said it's been so long. You say,
yeah.
Wow.
I just see another North American player not beating a European.
Yeah. Well, very close though, right? Which is exactly what Dan said. Not as good as they think they are. Gerald, who can't even get his own name right, barely beat Eric.
Oh man, it's quite a match right there. Quite a match. It's actually the South Americans that are the underestimated ones. Check out the Pizza Pie Bi-Weekly.
We get to claim them as well.
Okay, going forward.
You get 3 panels?
Yeah, I don't know why.
What the fuck is that?
Because it's a big deal, man.
Wow,
it's a big deal.
Complain about not getting any panels.
Look at this. Look at all the biases too. Like Dan gets his best picture from 4 years ago, and No Regret like just took a shit, and there's a picture of him.
In depth. It's my show with No Regret. Check it out on Artosis TV. We do it on Mondays, KST, and we just really analyze shit really well. Yeah, that's the show.
Roddy's doing a show just like that, isn't he?
Not as far as I know.
Yeah.
Roddy and Friends.
Roddy and Friends.
Roddy and Friends.
Yeah.
Where
we
he
talk
goes over Goblin replays.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, jeez.
They're great replays, you
know. Also the Tasteless podcast, episode number 2, has No Regret as well. He's just all over the place. So check that out.
Same picture.
He has
It's literally the same picture. You know what though? It's actually different pictures. He's just looking. Cobra, show the previous one.
Picture.
This is like that Eric thing where it's the same picture, just colored differently.
Is it the same?
He won't send us good pictures, so we have like 2 pictures that we can use, so we keep using the same ones over and over again.
There you go.
Hey, Jake, send us pictures. Maybe one with eating a shoe.
Yeah, well, that doesn't exist. So.
Yeah, called out. All right, check that out, the Tasteless podcast as well. Pig's Icy Far Challenge, the unlikely couple. Pair 2 units that no sane person would combine. What would those 2 units be? I don't even... what are 2 units that don't go together well? I think it's like Disruptors and Charge Lots.
Disruptor and Templar or something? I don't know.
Landed Viking and a medevac.
A Zergling and a Battlecruiser?
Well, you can't do that one. I'm not sure how to do this one, but if you can figure it out, send your replays to Pig at eonblue95@gmail.com.
Zerg's got a tough time because it's like every one of their units is fine with another unit.
Yeah, all of them go together is the problem.
Shame when the races, everything be viable. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. All right, the Afrika World April Blitz by Laughing Games and Falcon Paladin. They have open qualifiers, which looks like they just finished up. Then maybe today they have the first group and tomorrow the second group.
You know, I'm looking at these pictures and I'm trying to think to myself, one of these doesn't look like the others. Is that...
Why are you talking trash on Patience, man? Why are you doing that?
No, it ain't Patience.
Oh, okay.
Look closer.
Parting?
Still look closer.
Innovation doesn't have glasses. Is that it?
I don't see it. Oh my god, Innovation doesn't have glasses. You're right. That was it.
You fucking trolls.
Wow, I've never seen him without glasses. How weird. Yeah. Well, I hope he puts on his glasses or he's not going to be able to micro well. So anyways, check that out. That
You
should
won't be able to see the glare from the other guy's skin.
You guys are goofy today, man. This is.
Oh. Okay.
Dan's had his tea. Dan's had his tea. I can tell.
I'm having a great day right now. I don't want this episode to ever end. I'm sorry, Ruff. We're not normally like this.
You guys understand? Artosis is bragging to us. Before the show even began, he's like, "Oh yeah, I got my kids to school. I did all my shit. Like built IKEA.
I built a giant IKEA piece of furniture before I got on the show."
He's on cloud 9 right now, guys.
Damn, I'm
like the designated driver with all the drunks. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it.
You're gonna have to reel us in after this. The Laughing Games Cass Koreans. It's up on his YouTube channel. Yeah, it's Polt versus Supernova.
Polt.
I know everyone in the world is a giant Polt fan, so go check that out.
Wait, is Polt back?
I heard he's coming back. What do you think about that?
Why haven't you hosted a show match yet, Rifkin? Quick question.
Now that we finally have Captain America back, we need to see him versus Europeans to really figure out what server is what.
Yeah. Or at least get his opinion on it.
Huh. The GGE Mini build of the week. He's been working on build of the weeks for a long time. It looks like this week with Petit Drogo, a PvP build as well. And it looks like he's making a Korean Invitational tournament via Patreon, where I guess if he gets $100 a month, he will cast an invitational with a lot of good Korean players. So you can check that out. With GGE Mini 19. That's his handle on Patreon and Twitter and all that. All right, ESPN has an article on Raynor with a really terrible tagline. You can win WCS at 16, but you cannot eat Korean BBQ. So I looked at that. I was like, what the fuck? So I opened the article and looked, and it's like, apparently he dropped some of the food while he was eating Korean barbecue.
That's it.
Okay. Anyways, they are writing about Raynor, so you should probably go read it anyways. But sorry for spoiling for you that he can eat Korean barbecue. He just dropped some.
Yeah.
All right. Incoming transmission with nice username is back. Episode number 25 with Ali. Not the famous Prince, but the guy who works with GameHeart. So you can check that out on Nice Usernames YouTube. Of course, the Swan Machined bundle is still around if you want to spam Jeff's beautiful face into the StarCraft game. You can do it with that right there. Definitely get that. The Mr. Shang announcer is still out. This is like a famous TV host over in Taiwan. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm definitely going to. I am definitely going to get that voice pack.
I was listening to the previews for that, and honestly, like it's weird. I know it's like not for me and all that, but like the cadence of speech is just so different than all the other announcer packs. It's almost more like take me to sleep, read me a bedtime story. I don't know. It was really weird listening to it.
It is so weird.
I'm excited now. I'm going to download that today. All right. This week in Brood War, STPL is going to be back. Kix just moved and finally has his internet. Wednesday, May the 1st will be the first semifinal. So check that out on his Twitch. The Caster Muse Star League is continuing forward. They're in the top 4, Mini versus Sharp and Soma versus Rush. You have to check that out on Africa TV. A lot of the very best players in there. Very exciting. DreamHack Montreal. There might be a LAN get-together type thing for Brood War there. Shamtu's trying to put it all together, and hopefully that will work out. So you can check it out. There's like a thread on Team Liquid where people are kind of getting together and seeing if enough people are interested to make it happen. Also, AITT Tournament Season 2. It's an AI Tiny Craft Tournament. It's about programming a Brood War bot with only 5 kilobytes. So like you can barely tell it how to do anything. It'll probably be a bunch of PvPs, but you can check that out over on their site. You can check that out in the show notes. All right, the Undermine podcast. This is the podcast about the AI scene in general. It looks like they talk about Zerg things and the human versus bot league. So yeah, that's on makingcomputerdothings.com. This week in Awesome, StarCraft 2 memes from Fear Dragon. Fear Dragon is creating a Wikipedia page with a bunch of the memes in there. Yeah, you can check that out. I scrolled through. They got the Artosis Pylon thing wrong in there, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, what'd they say?
Even know. They said that I try to rename it the Tasteless Pylon.
Yeah.
That's not the case. We even have a show named the Pylon Show for what I try to rename it. Anyways, I think that's it, right?
Wait, are you talking about
WCS
that pylon? The pylon that's always in control of all the buildings?
Exactly, until it's not.
Right, okay.
It's funny. It's funny when people get stuff wrong.
Okay, that's this week in StarCraft.
All right.
So can we talk more about the Naked Penguin, or are we going to have some real subjects? Which one?
I think we have to move on to some serious subjects, otherwise we'll get some people pretty upset. Yeah, there it is. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Dan. So first subject is a pretty quick one, but it is a important one for a lot of people out there. Just to kind of read this out, the Laughing Games, a guy you've seen commentating a lot of stuff, tweeted out that the person behind SC2 Unmasked, which is the website that kind of shows off who's behind what barcode. It's very fun. It's one of the best ways to combat the barcode thing that's going on. So when Roddy hits a barcode and we find out that he just stole a game off of Showtime or somebody, this is the website that allows us to do that. Or if, one of the Muslim's incredible wins that he then analyzes for half an hour on his stream. It's only with this website that we're able to even know that some of these things are happening. It has been tweeted out and kind of come out that, hey, this kind of effort takes money to host a website like that and, of course, develop it a little bit. And I think he's always had it advertised as, please contribute if you like what this is. But as is often the case, when you're just kind of passive like that with a website, a lot of people just assume somebody else will pay for it. And as it turns out, virtually nobody is paying for it. So he's kind of come out and said, hey, I'm going to be shutting this down because I don't really feel like throwing money into a fire. I need people to support this. So if that seems like something you'd like to have around the scene, if that's something you yourself use or some of your favorite streamers use and you kind of want to see that service continue, can I please encourage you to head over to the link that Cobra just put in there, I think. Cobra, does that have the link to how to support this?
On their website, there's a Patreon button right up here at the top. And down here, if you want to do a one-time donation, there's a button that says donate. It'll take you right to a PayPal page. You can put in wherever you want.
There you go. So
May I comment actually on this briefly?
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually had a very similar topic brought up on stream, so I won't revisit a whole rant about it. But the TLDR was people were asking about, like, why are you always talking about money all the time? And my answer was, it's not that it's all the time. It's that if you don't ask, people won't help, right? They'll assume everything's okay. And there's so much good StarCraft content that has died because people couldn't afford to make it a full-time thing, or they couldn't afford to keep it running. And well, you don't have to be somebody who puts your hands out begging and losing all your pride. It doesn't hurt to help, or it doesn't hurt to ask for help either. The reason people like Wardy and myself are still around, whether you like us or hate us, is because we know how to make the money part of this. Same with like InControl on the Pylon show. They nailed it with Matcherino. They set up the Patreon. They know it's not a free thing. And so people who run websites like this, I'm not commenting on anything for the personality. I don't know the guy who runs it. But I know that I've never seen like a Reddit post saying support this. I know that I've never seen someone in chat say, hey, do you see that this guy needs help with the website? But everybody uses this as the thing. So I feel like this is a good step, but just a general message to all content creators out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help, man. There are people who want to support what you do. They just don't know that you need the support.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, Rifkin. It's an interesting thing because I've kind of from the beginning, money and gaming in general is always just a touchy subject. Anytime you ever hear about like a Patreon, or even before Patreon, I think back to like the early days of streaming, it's always just like it rubs some people the wrong way, and I get it. And I think there's always, it's worth evaluating. There's a way to do it. But it is absolutely true. I agree with everything Rifkin said. It's unfortunate, but if you don't mention this stuff, and that's why we start every episode of the Pylon Show with me talking about our sponsors and how to support the show. We actually have like the trackable info, obviously. When I mention it, when I talk about why it's important, and when I talk about what we want to do with it, we get more support. If I don't mention it at all, if we don't ever mention it, it makes for a nicer show, of course, for people because they don't want to be hearing about that. But nobody contribute, or not as many people contribute, and it kind of goes in the opposite direction. So it's important. the best way to describe this for us, because we have no ties to them. I don't personally use this service, but I know a lot of people that do, and I know that's important. It's one of those things where it's like, if this is the kind of thing you want to get behind, please do consider it. And we're actually the Pylon show will we're gonna make a donation of, it looks like about $50 to it ourselves, just to kind of support that content as well from our own pockets. And that's the kind of thing that we can do when you guys.
I just signed up as a Patreon for $5.
There you go.
I'll forego my iNcontroLTV Twitch subscriptions for this guy.
Just a heads up.
Go ahead.
That look was so good.
Just a heads up for everybody. Apparently, he did not have this donate button a couple of days ago, and due to popular request, it was added as in the last 24 hours. Actually, I think for people who don't want to do Patreon, there's a one-time PayPal thing that people in chat still don't know. For audio listeners, it's there.
There you go. So you can click on that.
There's this weird logic too, where people think that just because you're doing good content, people will support it. But like, it's almost got the opposite effect, where they assume like because it's good, it's already covered. So kudos to this guy reaching out. I think it's a good thing he did, because I've never used this site myself, but I know lots of people who do.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's a little bit of a StarCraft thing, because he's not to criticize him too much, but he's actually only reaching out when he's hitting the breaking point, where he's like, well, nobody's doing this, so I'm going to shut it down if nobody does. And I'm not faulting him for that, but it's kind of a byproduct of how uncomfortable it is for a lot of people to talk about money or talk about how you got to support the content, or how to do that too, right? That's kind of tough. Ophidian doesn't have the biggest of followings, but he's doing this this fantastic service that a lot of people really like, and as such, that he's in that weird crossroads where like communicating that you probably need to support this is hard for him. So it's cool, because it took Laughing Games tweeting this, and then I think, Cobra, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, somebody contacted us to tell us to talk about it, right?
Yeah, somebody sent me a link on Twitter, DMs to direct me to this. Yep.
And that is actually awesome, because the only reason we're even talking about this is because somebody alerted us to what's happening about it. And this is StarCraft 2 content that I see all over the place. So you can make your own choice. We're not demanding that you support it, but it's just important to get the word out there. And if you like it, please do. So, and then, thank you, Rifkin, for talking about the importance of talking about supporting content as well. It's, of course, very near and dear to us. So let's move on to the next topic. We have, this is an interesting one. So the player is Rail, aka Verdi, who's made a few appearances on the Pylon show, none of which I think he would be super proud of, but we get a lot of giggles out of it. He's the guy that has said to Rotterdam at Home Story Cup that he does not type GG because he wants more time to practice StarCraft, which I thought was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my entire life. But, joking aside, he's unfortunately declared that he will be retiring from StarCraft 2 because he is a Russian resident that is not able to travel to 2 of the WCS stops. So 2 of the 3 will be taking place in Kiev, because if you are of military age and a Russian, the Ukraine is very reluctant to let you in for political reasons. And then he talked a little bit about it. So the post is up there on the screen for you guys. And he'll be moving on to Warcraft 3. But what do you guys think about that, if you have any thoughts?
I'm a little disappointed, actually, because, I know Rail doesn't have great results. Rail is always a fantastic player to cast. Like, that he is going to be a good measure for whoever's playing against him to see whether they're worthy to move on or not. And I've played poker against him. The guy's really good at that too. I lost like 200 euro to him at Home Story Cup, but I'm a little sad to see him go. But at the same time, supposedly this is his umpteenth time retiring, and this happens with a lot of pros. Maybe just frustrated with the game, you claim retiring when really you're just taking a break. If he does well with Warcraft 3, though, kudos. I mean, a great player will find good success no matter what game they play. But I'm a little sad because I liked watching him and I loved casting him.
Yeah, he says it in the post himself. He's actually around when he's kind of funny because he's a big grinder, so he fluctuates. But when he's on top of his game, he's about 6,700 MMR, which is top 25 or so of the European scene. And that top 25 is absolutely chock full of, and there's no casual in there. It is just full-time professional top tier non-Korean players. So he is absolutely up there. And then, like Rifkin said, he's one of the only guys that actually took games off of Serral in 2018. Not series as far as I know, but he's just one of those guys that can throw a weird series together and beat some of the absolute best, at least make it interesting. But he's moving on. He's going to Warcraft 3 as well, which I thought was super, super interesting. There's some people moving in that direction, and they're kind of doing it Reforged, Warcraft 3, which as of yet doesn't have a release date as far as I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll let Artosis finish first.
Well, a couple things, like it's too bad for Rail. That's unfortunate. He's really been rising in the last 3 years. Like the first times we saw him hitting WCS events, if I recall correctly, was 2016. I remember seeing Verdi pop up here and there, but not doing well. But it seems like even like as of late specifically, he's done a lot better. And he's kind of become notorious for some of his builds and stuff where people are like, oh, just play this like Rail or something, you know? So it's too bad. And I totally get it. Some of these Visa things are really unfortunate. We've seen that a lot in the past with like Chinese players as well,
Yeah.
where it can be really hard for them to get visas. I think Warcraft 3 is probably a good move for him. You know, like if you look at Warcraft 3, it's really gigantic in China. And I believe that it is a lot easier for a Russian player to get a visa into China, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is probably a smart move for him. And I thought that we were going to see some amount of players switch over to Warcraft 3 because the Reforge is coming out. And like Warcraft 3 still has a gigantic pro scene. It's just mostly not in the West. It's like if you are, you know, if you want to play Warcraft 3 professionally and you're good enough, you definitely can. So not surprised to see that.
So Cobra just grabbed and showed me, I think it is declared from the Bliss Store page that Warcraft 3 Reforged will be on or before December 31, 2019, which is kind of game developer speak for this year. Is what that December 31st is obviously the last day of the year, so that is the intention. But it's also pretty standard procedure to be like, just kidding, it'll be winter of next year or whatever. Or, you know, like the idea is it will be this year. I think what everything Dan said is true. There's already tournaments too, and I want to give a shout out, of course, to our brother from a different mother, Todd. He, with alongside Take TV, is hosting some kind of Warcraft 3 tournament pretty soon, which is pretty cool.
So they've actually got a really good tournament scene, which I learned about recently. I didn't care to follow it when Grubby. I was a huge Grubby fan. Didn't follow it when Grubby started doing it. Didn't follow it when Todd started doing it. But I met the Back to Warcraft guys at BlizzCon and chatted them up, and I've checked out a couple of their casts. Dude, they pull in pretty good numbers for what I thought was a dead game. But Warcraft 3's got a pretty big audience on Twitch, at least.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every time Todd streams is about, he's got as little as 800 people watching him, and it can go up from there depending on the time of the day and stuff like that. There's definitely an interest. It's cool. It's funny, too, because there's actually some, like, savants that are just kind of moving around that game. I follow Todd, I talk to Todd, I talk to some of these other guys. So I'm not a Warcraft 3 enthusiast, and if I get the numbers wrong, you can go ahead and message me at Rotterdam08 on Twitter, of course. But there is like Happy, I guess, is like kind of playing pseudo casually, but rocking like a 98% win percentage or something stupid like that. There's just a couple guys that are just quietly absolutely amazing, and Europe's always had a pretty damn good connection to Warcraft 3. And of course China does as well. So the anticipation and the excitement for this is big. So from that perspective, I understand it for Verdi. I guess the scary, and scary is a weird word, but the interesting part of this is like, and not knowing his situation, by the way, at all. So this is all speculation, but like to go from StarCraft 2, which is doing pretty well, to Warcraft 3, it's got to be scary. But the system's kind of janked for him too. He was also talking about how hard it is for him to get a visa to go to the United States. So it's easier than to get into the Ukraine for him, but still not a guarantee. And the other WCS stop is in Montreal. So if he's looking at this year and saying, there's a very good chance I can't go to any of the WCS stops, we've talked a little bit about this, but that is kind of your professional StarCraft 2 career right now. There's, of course, the Eric path and the Star Killer path where you can battle it out online, and Birdie does that, or Rail. But to not be able to do the entire pro circuit, so it's kind of interesting. It's a specific situation. I think it's pretty bad for a Russian in particular. And then there's some young Russians like Skillis who are actually below military age, so it's a little bit easier for them to get in and more possible. So it's just kind of an interesting, the world of politics out there affecting our gaming lives. And that's that. So that's that topic. We'll move on to the next one. We're just flying right through this. Ruff's going to talk. We got him talking about 45 minutes. So if you're waiting for that, we'll get to a rough topic. We're going to talk about our favorite macaronis. That's why he's here. But just kidding. There's actually
ketchup or no ketchup on macaroni? Real question.
No ketchup.
God, you're such a savage.
I love all of your ketchup things, but ketchup's terrible. I hate ketchup on everything.
Sriracha.
Sriracha's great.
Sriracha's good too,
Ketchup
but
is
it's actually
gross.
pronounced Sriracha, and I will hear no other argument, please. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe it is Sriracha. I don't know. Next topic is lovingly called Reddit's love for Pult, but it's also at this time that we want to make a pretty, I think, interesting announcement. We're gonna include as long as there's interest in this, we'll do a new segment for the Pylon show, which we're gonna call Clip of the Week. And if you have clips from various different streams or whatever, something StarCraft 2 related, you can put it on Reddit. You'll get your 19 comments, but you can also send it to Alessander, Cobra Venom, myself, and if none of those people respond, you can send it to Artosis, but you will only
number
check
one way
that
to do
once
this.
every 2 or 3 weeks. So
If you send it to me, that is the same as writing down the link on a piece of paper, crumpling it up, and throwing it into the ocean.
could get to
Someone might see the video. It's possible. I can't guarantee though.
Or you can send to the Pylon Show Twitter as well. And there is a Discord channel where you can put it in there. So I know
The
that
number one way that this is going to be checked for is actually the clips and Twitch content in our Pylon Discord. That's going to be the
Okay.
number one way.
That'll be the number one way. There are like 9 ways to do it, and I know what's going to end up happening is people are going to be confused on how to do it, and they'll probably just send it to Artosis. That's fine. Okay, guys?
I love it.
It is a
Please
tough world
do.
out there. But this week's clip, and I'm going to ask from our panelists that we please keep it absolutely silent. This is an incredible clip. It hit the top of StarCraft 2 Reddit. It's got 1,200 views. Go ahead and play the clip. Amazing moment.
Hello, what do you have here? Nice to see you here, probes. Not you, Stalker. Go away.
And that is the whole clip.
I mean, it's a thing that happened.
I was hoping this was the military one. I actually like that one where he's like, someone asked Paul, like, are you a Marine or Marauder in the military? And he's like, no, more like SCV. Like, that was a great clip. What was this one? Like, I'm sorry, but what the fuck did we just watch?
Here's the other one.
This was
Hang on.
What was your job in the military? Marine or Marauder?
It's more like SCV.
That's it.
See, of the two, the second one's the better one. There's no question about it. The
Yeah.
first one was like the fucking penguin. Like, why are we watching it? Why are we talking about it? I don't get the
Don't
first
you
one at
talk
all.
trash on Sir Nils, okay?
Yeah, when you watch these clips, and can you just walk me through kind of how you feel and your thought process, and just what does it do for you?
Well, first off, I really like Pult. He's a nice guy. I've known him a long time.
Yeah, you have to.
And I hope that he comes back and does very well.
He did come
America
back.
needs another great player.
Great friend over here. Yeah.
The clips I don't really care about. What do we have here? Probes. Hello, Probes. Oh, a stalker, not you. Bye. Like,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, yeah. I
So
know how to talk as well. That's cool.
I had a similar experience. A little while ago, I learned that on YouTube, there are kind of Russian bot farms that have found out that there's like one of the highest watched videos styles on YouTube is like children's videos, and they don't need to make sense. It can just be random songs, random discussions, cartoon characters of different, like it can be a dog talking to a cat, it can be a tree with a face talking to a potato. And this Russian bot farm literally takes different kinds of that and mixes and matches it and churns out videos automatically through an artificial intelligence, which then kids watch by the hundreds and sometimes millions of views. And the videos generate revenue. But these videos, which are in like the dark web of our existence, because it's nonsensical. It's literally a cat person talking to a tree person, and it's not English, it's not Russian, it's just words, and they sing a song, and then all of it's just what a computer thinks these
So
things would say to
creepy.
each other. It's so creepy and weird, but they generate money. When I listen to Pult do this segment, and then I see the chat of 1,200 people blow up laughing,
Oh my god.
I had the same feeling. I was like, this is a different kind of existence. This is a different plane of thought. I'm not there.
I'm a big fan of Polt. I really like Polt, but like honestly, I think Polt's fanboys are some of the weirdest people to interact
They are
with.
super.
And
They are body pillow tentacle porn type people. That you know what? To each their own. I've had guys come in my chat and be like, Jeff, why haven't you been talking about Polt? And I'm like, what do you mean talk about Polt? What do you want me to do? And he's like, he's the greatest. Can you please just talk about him? And I'm like, what? What do you want me to do?
yeah, see, I'm in the middle of casting a tournament for the finals. They're like, is Polt playing in this? I'm like, I don't know, dude. We're in the finals. You do the math.
Anyways.
So he was playing in it.
No, because I'm a demon for not inviting him, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's this just Polt phenomena out there. It's just a little bit, it's just interesting. Roddy was the one that showed me those clips because he was just dying. Because he's having the same experience. Like in his chat, people are like, yo, Roddy, can you give us your thoughts on Polt coming back? And Roddy's like, what do you want me to say? And the guy's like, just talk about it. Talk about Polt. So it's great. He's back.
I did have a few people pop up in my chat asking about Polt as well.
Like, I'm glad he's back. And actually, to be honest,
nobody's not glad he's back. It's fine. It's just his cult came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I'm just hoping that it's the hype of him being back, and that like a lot of these guys are gonna get just used to it, right? It'll be normalized, and it won't be so crazy. Because it's still, I mean, it's fresh. He's still back. He's only just started streaming again.
Like Destiny would stream StarCraft to like 6,000 people, and that's really awesome. But I'd have nobody ask me about it. Polt comes back for the military, which he's been talking about for months, and I've got people just being like, Jeff, can you just give me your thoughts on Polt coming back real quick? And I'm like, that's great. It's fun. Dude, they're like, no, give me more than that. Don't be a bitch. And I'm like, excuse me?
I hope that Polt wins BlizzCon.
I hope he wins everything.
I think he's going to, no. But do I hope he does? Yeah.
I want him.
Artosis.
I want him versus Maru in the finals, and when he wins, he goes into the crowd, plucks Nathanius off of the desk from hosting, hoists him up like he's the trophy, and I want him to. And instead of the trophy, he literally just kisses Nathanius's brow, and Nate's arms like reach around his head, and he hugs him, like he hugs his head as Polt's kissing him, holding him in the air, and I want that to be the final scene. And then they actually shut down StarCraft. They announce it. The next day, they're like, we're done. The final moment. That's what I want.
Is he living in Korea right now?
Polt?
He probably is, right? Yeah.
That's a great question.
Was he in America for school before military?
Well,
but
I remember him voicing that he wanted to play in WCS, not in GSL. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I remember him saying. That
Black Deep says yes. So
he is living in Korea right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope he tries it out for GSL next season. It would be great to have him in the tournament. I mean, he is quite a legend. It's like I normally don't think about him too much because we got so much going on right now with all the good players. But
it
was kind of sad to see MMA kind of peter out a little bit. It seemed like he was gonna do something and then he didn't. Yeah, no, he's another one, right? Where
you had MMA, you had Bomber, you had Dream, you had a lot of these guys come back from the military who were all just as hype, if not more hype than Polt, but none of this craziness about their return.
I think it's because Polt just has more fans in general because he's got like fluent
Well, he also
English,
streamed, right? He's always streamed a little bit. So his streaming kind of creates that. And he does make those funny little comments. And he I think the advantage, and this has always been the case, by the way, even back in the EG days, when Koreans make an effort to speak English, it does win over a lot of fans. The same is true when English people try to learn Korean and they speak Korean over there. They have the Koreans tend to be like, oh, wow, I like this person a little bit more. So I get it. I'm mostly teasing, but kind of like Rifkin was saying, the fanaticism that comes out of it, though, is very interesting. It's like he has a sex cult or something like that. It's kind of cool. I mean, what I said on my stream was like, when I die or whatever, I just want people to love me as people love Polt. Like, I want people to go to Dan's house when he's like 178 and be like, yo, you have any of that Jeff hair? You know, can I have some of that Jeff hair? And Dan will be like, what? You don't have to call the cops.
I'm like, yeah, well, I do. I have a Jeff hair room even.
That's what I want. So yeah, Polt's back. We're gonna do clips that you can send into the show. Ruff, what's your thoughts on Polt? You're a Terran player. You've been keeping quiet.
I think if there's any fans out there, they need to go onto his stream and tell him to say sexy, and just clip it for me.
Yeah.
I just want to hear it.
Ruff just outed himself as an absolute fan
But,
of Polt right there.
I played versus Polt a lot in the past, and it's just he's an amazing person. I've met him at live events, and he is probably the nicest person I've ever met, especially coming over from Korea and just kind of going full foreign, you know, toward the Koreans. So I thought I don't have much to say. I'm just glad he's back. I do want to see him compete as well.
He also has it does have an interesting effect on the like the streaming climate, because the Terran players all kind of, they have like a very specific audience. So we had Juggernaut Jason on, and they were like, yeah, Polt's coming back, because that came up then as well. And he's like, yep, and I'll figure out when he's streaming, and then I will change my life around not streaming at that time. Because that's kind of
nonstop for a week on stream. Nonstop.
You'll just keep going forever.
Hey, Cobra, may I submit some fan art really quick to you on Discord?
Please do. All right, so while that's happening...
How many trains we got out there? Oh my god.
It's been a lot today for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they're all fleeing like a zombie apocalypse.
This is for In Control.
That's good. I know it's a Polt related. Gotta be though.
Yep.
It's already happened. Funny. Who did that?
Me. Well, you guys are talking.
Jesus, that was fast. How you got Nate's legs like that too is incredible. Wow. Well, there you go, you guys. That's a Rifkin original. Not quite the kiss. Rifkin, where's the trophy go though?
Let's not talk about that In Control. We don't get banned on Twitch.
There you go, you guys. Ask and you shall receive. So I know there's gonna be some really excited Polt fanboys about that, though. This picture should hit the internet by storm.
Wow.
This isn't the end, is it?
Just the beginning. It is just the beginning. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Oh, you want to play the clip? Go ahead. Go over, sure. Oh, NA versus EU discussion part 2 is what we're doing, I guess, with Ruff though. But here's what Dan did.
The Europe Pro scene is basically the Terrans of the world, right? It's like they've got you know how there's like the Terran Zerg whining alliance to fuck over Protoss? Like that's almost what I feel like Europe does, where they talk about how strong they are more than play strongly. Where they actually, this is tell me I'm wrong, right? It's like, yeah, you guys do have Cyril, that's really sick, but it's like there's a lot of like heavy talk about how much stronger it is in the NA scene, and I think it is overall a little bit stronger, but you know, maybe not quite as much as I
mean, that sassy hand thing Artosis did is my favorite part of that clip. Oh, preach it, Artosis. Am I right, brother?
16 photos taken seconds for disaster.
This is from, was it Nice Usernames Twitter. This is so good.
Oh, that's so
good. Okay. I actually have something I really want to talk about with this topic.
Yeah.
I was the one who poked Cobra and to like see if we could talk about it. So first off, Artosis. Every time I cast and there's a Artosis Pylon moment, I go out of my way to call it In Control Pylon. So you know I got your back, right? But you're so fucking wrong, dude. Like, I can't. But regardless of what you guys feel out there, EU, NA, this did actually inspire something that was really cool. And there was some positivity that came from it. And that's Beastie Cutie and I sat together and we're like, let's make a tournament. Let's create a format that will really test this. And let's most importantly use the challenger system. As players get knocked out, we'll have players made available to us, because it's not about the top 4. The argument's really about the average 8, right? So can we take the people who get knocked out at WCS NA and WCS Europe and the bottom side and pit them against each other in some kind of tournament? And we streamed this together where we spent half an hour just kind of talking with one another, talking about a new format. And we kind of came down to this idea where you would have the 8 versus 8, right? Top 8 versus top 8. And then that's going to lead to some kind of situation where there's, 3 NA winners, 7 EU, or vice versa, whatever the numbers end up being. And we wanted to use the results of that to create like a little mini team league, like just of the 4 players representing each region of who comes out of the top 8 versus top 16. And we've got this all finalized. I got some funding for it. It's going to be really cool, but we just have to wait for WCS to finish so we have our pick of the litter for players. Because obviously, somebody competing for the top WCS right now isn't going to want to play in our little rinky-dink tournament. But it'd be really cool to see because I think it's more than the money and it's about pride for a lot of these guys. I guarantee you, all the Europeans are going to show up just to like puff up their chest and show that they're better. The question is whether NA will answer the call. And if they do, I think there'll be a really interesting series to see because, again, it's not about the top players like Neeb and it's not about the top players like Cyril. It's about that middle average and how they look versus the top of NA.
Yeah, I like
So
this
it'll be
because
cool
to
to
me,
see.
I always wondered about this. Like when they were casting for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, I have to imagine they put out a casting call where they're like, we need a really fat lady. Like, so I don't want 200 pounds. I don't need 240. I need, if you are 350 to 400 pounds or more, I need you to respond to this. And you can be an actress in a big movie coming up with some pretty big actors and actresses. This would be a sick moment. Who responds to that? So this is like, that's what your term is. You're like, listen, I don't need really good players like Uthermal or Showtime. I need that next tier. If you identify as not quite good enough to beat the absolute best, but you're just strongly in the middle pack, please respond to this. And I want to see who identifies that way because I think that's amazing. It's very humble.
Plus, the way we're doing it with the team league, there's no one defined winner, right? The region will win with 4 players in the top side, one way or the other. And maybe this tournament will go well. Maybe it'll go poorly. I mean, I'm always trying to come up with new formats that look cool and seem different than your standard group stages. But I think it'll be kind of neat to see. And I don't think it's going to define any argument. I don't think we're going to win hearts over for people who think NA is better or EU is better based on results. But it will just be a cool... It's a cool tournament that got birthed off of this funny discussion, basically, from the Pylon show.
Let's put one thing to rest, though. Okay, so best European commentator. We're not going to call him Muslim commentator. It's Rotterdam, right? Do we agree on that? Yeah?
Sure, depending where this is going.
Had Jim Rising flown, okay, to the Clash final, we know that Jim Rising would have slayed Rotterdam. So still, the number one most skilled commentator resides over here in the North American scene. Right?
Sure.
And that is a show match that if you set up that show
what
match,
I care about is Korean commentators, okay? JYP
garbage
will eat their babies.
Absolutely
okay? No problem.
What about Indy? We don't talk about Indy, okay? That's Jim Rising would beat him too, though, actually, probably. Set it up. I'll contribute to the prize pool.
Maybe we should make
like
the Pylon show goal.
Sounds like a fun little tournament.
Jim Rising would eat every commentator alive, including JYP. JYP was a bad four-gator back when he was good. Come on.
Ooh.
I loved him, though. He's a good guy.
JYP's great.
He's a very good guy. Well, there you have it. But this was supposed to be about RuFF, I guess. RuFF, you are routinely beaten by both the NA scene and the European scene, so I think you have the best perspective to talk about which one drubs you harder, I suppose. So how do you feel? Where does this go?
This is a tough one because I know a lot of the when I ended up playing at WCS, since that was the first match for NA, a lot of the EU were sticking around for that match, and so I got the best of both worlds, and it was well, obviously it was a disaster what ended up happening in WCS, but
you got to stray at first. We really don't know
responses. Because I do take a look at the chat sometimes, and I take a look at what's being
can't do
said.
that, Rob.
And I was like, ugh, it hit me in the gut real hard. But at the same time, it didn't really faze me as much because over the years, I've kind of gotten pretty numb toward a lot of comments, especially when you're a streamer.
Yeah.
I'll see a lot of games, and if I take, for example, I'm gonna take like Maru versus SOS championships. If you guys remember that one, he was proxying everywhere. He got screwed. He got spotted everywhere. Same thing happened, and then you see the chat, and everybody's just insulting Maru the entire time. And so to me, it didn't really affect me as much because I know that this is going to happen regardless of who was playing. It could have been me, it could have been someone else. It's a little bit more I want to say there's a little bit more pressure on me because I haven't been in WCS for like maybe 4 years. I want to say it's been a very long time. I think I was in the first one, the one where Vibe ended up winning, playing Daisuke in the finals. That was back at MLG Anaheim. You know, that was a long time ago when I ended up qualifying, and I ended up beating Daisuke to qualify for it. You know, so there's a lot of these really good players, and my play style, it's so off the wall that I can catch even some of the best out there off guard. And I think that's how I ended up qualifying, you know, just knowing your opponent. I give an example. When I played M. Canning, I know he loves disruptors. I abused it. I went air units and went battle cruisers. I did that kind of stuff. I went liberator range and ended up qualifying that way. I streamed it, you know, and I remember when True was a GSL champion around that same time, I ended up 4-0ing True on the ladder. So it can go both ways. I am a huge underdog. I can take out top players and I will lose to a lot of lower end players too. It's ridiculous, but this is just how I play. This is how I have fun playing StarCraft. It's hard for me to just be the meta guy. I have to break the meta, you know. That's just how I go about my games. So seeing the reactions, they didn't really faze me too much.
Well, that's good.
But I can definitely tell that if there was probably anybody else in my situation, it probably would have impacted them so hard. It wouldn't surprise me if they just wanted to quit, you know, and just off of what happened.
Yeah, reading comments is tough.
Yeah.
I just want to say something here because I know Ruff's had like a lot of ups and downs over the years, right? And I thought like some of the vitriol that came out of him beating Mcanny was ridiculous because obviously it's more the Mcanny fanboys that are upset rather than people who hate Ruff. But I remember the moment it clicked for me that I'm like, Ruff is more than just a memer. I can't remember exactly who he was playing. It was like one of those Koreans that comes across. I think it was Armani or something. Ruff did like a proxy planetary with a +1 Reaper behind it, and he killed like a high-ranking player in a tournament I was casting. And I'm like, fuck, he actually knows what he's doing. This isn't just like blind luck and dumb memes. Like this guy, and then I remember messaging him like a couple weeks later. He's got this shit calculated. He was talking about how he knows every build, and yeah, it just sucks because Ruff is a guy who I don't think is ever going to get quote unquote like the respect he deserves for the hard work he puts in because his builds look so ridiculous. Like, let's be real. You watch a Ruff game and you're not like, oh boy, that was like pulp quality tier, high echelon StarCraft 2. But it sucks because yeah, when he qualified, I remember I didn't see your games for the qualifier, but I was like, yeah, that's cool. Ruff could totally beat Mcanny. I actually believe that. But seeing my Twitter full of people just be like justice for Mcanny and stuff, I didn't understand that at all.
What does justice have to do with anything?
You know, really upset, man.
Yeah,
I a lot of his fanboys cross over with me, but still.
I don't know, it's obviously not to the Ruff degree, but like, you know, when I was a player, I was very known for my cannon rushing and DT rushing and stuff like that. When it worked, I would get similar stuff, but when it gets stopped, there's this like feeling of like, it's always been around StarCraft. There's always a sense of like, if you're a cheeser or you do weird stuff, when you get stopped, there's like an angry, like, he deserved that. Like, ugh. He's trying to steal these wins from these superior players. And it used to really bother me as a player, and I too read comments, and Ruff, if you're up to advice, don't, for God's sakes. It's always, you never feel good. It's never good. Oh, yeah. Almost unanimously, even after you win, there's like, people are like, great, and then there's somebody like, fucking, I hate. Anyways, but after some separation from it and kind of dealing with it for years, you just kind of realize, and this doesn't excuse it per se, but for a lot of people, this is their competition that they watch. This is like, M. Canning is their basketball star. He is their like athlete that they support and follow. And it gets even weirder because they watch their streams for some of these guys, or they've seen their careers ups and downs. So it gets really intimate for a lot of people. So when they do get a match stolen from them or they lose to an inferior player, that anger you see is like actually kind of real. And again, like I said, it's not justified. I would wish people were more mature and loving than that. But for them, it's their soap opera. It's their competition. And I've not grown to accept it per se, but understand the reaction, I guess. And it's kind of interesting because people are so passionate that when their favorite player loses, they actually will take their feelings and go on Twitter and stuff, and you're like, wow, that's really weird. But for me, as a regular sports fan, I'm a big Seahawks fan. Same shit or worse, by the way, in real life. They'll like literally be like, oh my God, Russell Wilson, who I own 6 jersey of, just threw an interception. What I'm going to do now is hop on Twitter and call him some racist slurs, and then I'm going to threaten to kill his family. And it's like, and then at the end of that, when they get blocked, they'll be like, well, anyways, next Sunday, I can't wait to watch. It's going to be great. And that's just like, that's what they do, man. And it's, again, not okay, but it's how some people get really impassioned about watching these competitions. And Ruff, you're that guy. There's people cheering for you.
Yep.
And then there's people that would watch you eat shit.
Yep.
And it'd be their own shit too that they try to do. So, well, that's cool. And you know, thank you for even talking about that. And I like, so to pull one thing from what you said too, you're well known for your weird builds, and you have actually been around since Wings of Liberty, if I'm not mistaken. You've been around forever.
Since you and Cats and everybody else, and I tend to put myself in that old person's category.
Oh yeah, you're 33. You have to.
Of yourself, Cats, Vibe, and when these players come into mind, I think of players that aren't extremely fast, but they have the wisdom and knowledge of the game that they can pull off things that other players, younger players, can't. But younger players seem to be a lot more mechanically set in their ways. So they'll do this repetition. They'll be so good at it. And we're the guys that'll lose to anybody, but we can also probably potentially beat anybody too. And I think that's one of the things that transitioning out of Heart of the Swarm to Legacy of the Void, it was one of the hardest things for me, because I am not as fast as a lot of these other players. And when in Heart of the Swarm, I was like top 16 Grandmaster. You know, coming into Legacy of the Void, I was for a little bit, but Terran was overpowered in the beginning, so it makes sense. But later on, I started dwindling down, and I had this huge mindset back in Heart of the Storm. The only way, because I'm not that fast, the only way I can be at the top tier level is to win at the 30-minute mark. Can I beat these top players in that 200 supply versus 200 supply army? And that is basically what my journey is, and it has been my journey since the start.
Interesting.
To see the Void. So a lot of people call me like, oh yeah, you're a cheeser and whatnot, but anytime you jump on my stream, all I'm doing is trying to macro. I am trying to defeat the gods and macro most of my games and get to the 30-minute mark and win at that point as Terran. And that is one of those, I feel like it's an impossible mission, but I keep doing it because of how stubborn I am.
So for the show real quick, we've obviously moved past the NAU thing. We're talking about, Ruff's path now. But go ahead, Rifkin.
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember saying almost these exact same words when I've casted Ruff in the past too. And he reminds me a lot of Verdi in this way, where it's like a really good player on the bracket. Like this is a guy who could really screw up your bracket run if you run into him, right? I don't expect Ruff to win, but I expect Ruff to be able to like possibly kill anybody, And it was cool, I think, a little bit for me as a silent Ruff fan, if you will, who has done his dumb Reaper builds on ladder after casting them and stuff.
Oh my God, Rifkin's a fan?
Yeah, there's the next
cool.
clip.
I'm gonna be honest. It was cool seeing you go in. I was obviously a little choked when you lost in WCS, but like getting there was a cool thing too. Because for me, I'm like, Ruff is not the conventional player everyone expects, and I think I in a weird way relate to that a bit. I'm not the caster everyone expects either. So it was really cool seeing you get in, man. I just wanted to say that too while we're on the topic before we leave.
Rifkin's the Ruff of commentators. I like that. I think that can be your own branding.
I'd rather be the Rifkin of, but okay.
It's tough,
You can be the Rifkin player.
Yeah, and Ruff can be the Rifkin of players, and you can be.
Oh, he doesn't want that. I'll save him the trouble there.
Well, let's talk a little bit too. Not necessarily. I mean, you did kind of break down your WCS games, of course, but just as you've been, if I'm not mistaken, a pretty full-time StarCraft guy almost this whole time. I think you carried a job on earlier on, but you're now full-time StarCraft, right?
It is. Yep.
How has streaming been, and how has WCS been for you as a player?
Okay, so it's been pretty hard. I kind of stopped being extremely competitive a little bit after a year of Legacy of the Void. I've kept my streaming up just because I have my own kind of personal story. I'm going to try to break it down, the short version of it. But basically, I had I ran into some serious real life issues in the past, and StarCraft kind of got me out of it.
Very cool.
You know, and to me, it's a little bit emotional, but it allowed me to kind of build my life, get to the point where I have my own family, and kind of keep going. And so every time I wanted to quit, I think about the viewers and I think about what's happened in the past and how they kind of got me here. And it's kind of my own thing to just keep going.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I just kept going, going, going. I've had a year where I just despise it. It's kind of like working a job you don't want to do. And then, you know, later on, it just gets better. And sometimes it goes up and down. Lately, it's been going really well. I've had a much stronger mindset of things. When I jumped into WCS, I didn't even play in the first qualifier. I skipped out in the first qualifier. I didn't even know about it. Someone on my stream came on and was like, why aren't you playing WCS, RuFF? I'm like, wait, WCS is going on? That's how updated I am with the news, especially when I've got a family and everything. You know, I just jump on, I stream, and then I jump off, you know. I don't have as much time. But when I jumped into WCS and I played it and ended up qualifying, it was the first time in a long time that I was like telling the wife, hey, I want to sit down and watch StarCraft. I'm sitting here, I'm watching the games, trying to learn. I try to watch GSL at night when I get a chance. It started consuming me, whereas before I used to do other things. And so getting that WCS really kind of uplifted my spirits. I'm not going to say that getting destroyed in Challenger dropped them. It definitely didn't. It kind of opened up kind of like that opportunity, like, you know what, this is pretty cool, you know. So I don't know. I guess that's how it is, and my streaming's been going all right. It's not too bad. I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, when you beat
I'm on a journey.
Did that help your stream at all?
No, not really.
No, not really.
Yeah, it didn't really go up at all. It always stays relatively consistent. It never really goes up or down, I've noticed. And I don't know if that's just me not publicizing it very well. But you know, I can't say that I don't dislike the growth or anything like that. Because the people that do come on there, the people that do support it are so awesome that I can still keep doing it, you know.
Very cool, man. Well, I think the next place to take this too is that we always ask our guests like if they have any questions or things they want to handle, and you're a Terran player, so naturally you had some thoughts on unit redesign and balance, and we'd love to take the conversation there. So, you know, lead the way. What were you thinking?
Okay, well, since my grand focus is trying to get into the late game, I only think about that because I feel like, you know, the early and mid game is manageable for any race, I would say. When it comes to the late game, I do feel Terran is underpowered, in my opinion. So something I was thinking about is I've run through so many builds, especially in TVP. TVZ is not too bad. I found like a Thor Ghost Hellbat, which is just destructive as long as you're lucky enough to get all the infestors EMP. Yeah. It is very one-sided if you can pull it off. So I feel like the TVZ matchup is in a pretty good state. TVP, when I get to the late game, there is an army that can handle things, except for one unit, and I feel like that's the Disruptor. And a lot of people don't get to see these mech battles and these 40-minute games versus Protoss, but it's the one unit that when I'm trying to move out and they just fling it at you, you're so slow, man. You can't catch up. You try to go Liberators. Tempest got the 15 range. It's so hard to kind of push forward when you're getting to that point. And so my attack on balance would probably be changing the Disruptor to be a bio-focused unit. I think that would help the late game, especially if you're a mech user. it wouldn't really change TVZ at all. It wouldn't really change PVT when it comes to, you know, playing versus bio. And the only thing I'm not familiar with is PvP. Is the disruptor used a lot like it was in the past ever since they changed it back to the old one? Do you see a lot of those battles anymore?
It's not so popular in PvP at the moment. Like
Not
you'll see
anymore?
it as a comeback mechanic against certain comps, but it's not very big.
Yeah, but I feel like it wouldn't really change too much in those matchups. So if I said anything, it would be, hey, I'm going to do the full damage versus bio still, but maybe half the damage versus anything else, you know, heavy armored units. I don't know what is your guys' take on that?
Well, I'm kind of interested because you know, mech from Terran is not something that we see too much. Obviously, we saw it a bunch during Super Tournament, but like, what is, you know, and the thing is, I think that Disruptor has a place against playing against mech, but in the late game, we don't really, at least in my late games and the late games that we saw in Super Tournament, it didn't seem like Disruptors were an integral part of the Protoss army against Terran. So what are you doing with Terran? Because I think you've probably played more games with mech against Protoss than Maru or Gumio. But like, what is your comp and what is the problem with the Disruptor actually?
Thors, Hellbats, and Ghosts is,
Thor, Hellbat,
in my opinion, a very strong comp versus Protoss, especially when you have a large Ghost
But if you
count.
take out the disruptor, what does the Protoss make against that?
They have like Immortals. I guess they have air units, carriers.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? They have carriers?
Carriers,
Yeah.
carriers versus Thors. No way, man.
Oh,
No, they're the carriers are okay.
ever
against
since the armor nerf, they kind of
Huh.
dig through the Thors pretty well.
I
Now,
actually still go
previously,
carriers.
it wasn't. But this is just my kind of take on it. I've tried the tanks and stuff like that. Charge lots are so good, you know, when it comes to playing versus armies. And because everybody's complaining about the Protoss economy, you try to move out, they try to hit you with a timing attack on your third base. It makes it pretty difficult to get into that late game scenario. So I feel like if you can get away with it, you know, if I try to move forward with tanks or Thors, you know, those they get like 5 disruptors, bam, you know, half the army starts to go down before the fight even happens. The only thing I can think of is maybe Banshee sniping. I did see a game. Was it Gumiho versus Classic? He actually won that one game.
Just after 300
was it
stats.
on year 0? That was pretty interesting, and that gave me some ideas. But I still feel like trying to like invest in Banshees when they've got like high Templar and Stalkers around the armies can be pretty difficult. But yeah.
Well, I think this is really interesting because from, I guess I'm going to take this more of a fan standpoint than like a commentator standpoint or anything like that. The Disruptor, I think, is a good unit for StarCraft in terms of like a Widowmine. It can create these really exciting moments, even if they're not great. The fact that there's that anticipation of it possibly being great is like really cool. And I wish we had more of that. But at the same time, I also totally agree because I've cast God knows how many times where like Clem's played mech against Protoss or somebody's played mech against Protoss. And it does look silly, like one-sided. It either goes really well for the Terran or it goes really well for the Protoss. And my least favorite kind of games to watch, again, fan standpoint, are where they're like really one-sided. So I don't know how to change it. I'm not going to agree or disagree with anything you've said in that regard, but I love what the unit does. It would be nice to see it be a less one-sided matchup, though, when it gets involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think specifically against Thors, yeah, the Disruptor would be really, really rancid, but it almost makes no appearances against almost all the other mech styles except like Battle Mech. And I think the problem you'll run into is that the Disruptor is an integral part of how you respond to that. Because if you take the Disruptor out, Battle Mech is insane. And then if you do have Thors, Ghosts, and Hellbats, there's not a Protoss army on Earth. I mean, you talked about carriers, but I thought you were joking. And then like you're like Charge-Lots are really strong. I'm like, my man, EMP and Hellbats it's a comedic joke. It's like if you lose that fight, you just played the Serral of Protoss because he came in from every single direction, must have carpet bombed you with Storm, and then also hit you with like 3/3 Zealots, and you got stuck on one attack upgrade or something. I don't know, but Protoss versus Mech, I agree, it can be really swingy. But then we have matches too that was like Maru versus Stats, where it's like one of the best games probably of the year, if not, and a lot of that was the Disruptors. And actually, pretty much the only reason he was able to hang in that game and eventually win it was Disruptors. You take that out, he has no answer for any of what he was facing at all.
Well, I think, yeah, like I generally like Disruptors against BattleMech. I think that the reason why it gets so hard in these types of situations to make the game function exactly how we want it is because of how powerful the counters are. It's something we've talked about a lot, right? Like the Immortal really, really wrecks the units that it wrecks, like a roach, right? Like, oh my God, but that'll keep you alive in certain situations. So that's important. And then it's like, yeah, the Disruptor is going to murder, a group of tightly packed units. And it's like, yeah, the Hellbat is such a counter to the Zealot, right? It's just like this thing that's really hard to make all the pieces fit without breaking anything because the counters are so nasty against each other.
The reason I suggested the bio focus is because the Disruptor would still wreck the Hellbats pretty hardcore because they are considered bio units.
So it's actually, yeah, I guess it would wreck their ghosts too. So it's really the Thors that you're having a problem keeping alive then. Oh, that's interesting.
Like, I think it's like 3 Disruptors, bam, the Thors just die, like 3 of them grouped up. If they hit the Nova right. I try using siege tanks. It's just hard to push out.
They're very strong against mech. There's no question about it. Yeah. Especially if you're doing the side you're talking about, like Thors and tanks. If they get hit, I mean, right? Like you either kill the Disruptor or you get hit by that. It's gonna. The Disruptor's like a lot less expensive and can do AOE damage to those things. That just. I think one of the hardest part about mech is that they are also big units that tend to just naturally clump up. Like when you're moving around. You're like, oh shit, we're fighting. Then you siege your tanks, and there's like 9 tanks in the same area, right? And it dies, and that's your whole army. Same with Thors. If you're moving around the map, they naturally like, brother, let's grind up on each other. And that's good when it's good, but then you get hit by AoE stuff, and they're like, wow, that was the worst thing in the world. That was 1,500 minerals and 1,000 gas or whatever it is, and I just lost it all. Which is a StarCraft 2 thing. Not to say that makes it okay, by the way. It's just like, that is the funny thing we've always dealt with StarCraft 2, right? Like just the high damage happens so fast, especially those late game Protoss armies. And you remember this. Remember back in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm when it was like 9 Colossus and 15 Templar? And it was like, that army's pretty fun. Just everything dies.
So
it's bad.
I was thinking about this actually, just while you guys have been talking, and I know not a lot of you guys do co-op and stuff, but one of the upgrades in co-op that I always thought was so fun with Raynor is it's a pretty long cooldown, but you can get like a speed boost for your mechanical units. It's kind of like a mini stim for like 2 seconds. If the problem with the Disruptor is really just like it punishes mech because it's really slow and immobile, you can't really dodge the shots no matter how hard you try. Maybe introducing something like that could be kind of cool instead of like nerfing a Protoss unit buffing something for Terran. I know it's always dangerous to talk about this, but I don't know. I just think that would be a really cool thing to see, like a player be rewarded for fast reactions rather than like balance dictating how that fight's going to go before it starts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it becomes one of the StarCraft equations where when I hear this from RuFF, I don't personally, there's no like synapse connecting in my brain where I'm like, yeah, the Disruptor needs to be nerfed or better against biological. Like, because again, you make it even better against biological and you're talking about really obliterating like Zerg and you're talking about some pretty silly other things that happen. To me, and this is tough because there's going to be a certain percentage of people that are like, no, we need to change things all times. It's kind of to me like the good mech or anything StarCraft for the most part is like evolutionary. If you're just like, this game, I'm making Thors, Ghosts, and Hellbats, and then you, like that comes out. In a lot of your games, it's probably really good at first, and then the Protoss evolves to be like, well, Disruptors are my answer to that, so here come the Disruptors. And if you're like, no, more Thors, more Hellbats, and it just keeps working against you, I think that's going to be really tough. But if you start mixing in Liberators, and you start changing your composition away from just doing that, and you go more into like a battle mech style, which is, again, kind of countered by disruptors, but has more of an answer as opposed to losing all your Thors to 5 disruptor shots, then that seems to be the direction they kind of want these matchups, as opposed to what you're suggesting, which is just like, I roll out Thors, and he's like, my disruptors are useless. And it's like, what do you got to do, Protoss? He's like, if I can get to 30 carriers, they could stand up to this. But that's a stupid StarCraft as well, right? Because then it's just like, I have this. Oh, no. Well, then I make this. And Jesus Christ, here we go. And instead of like, everyone's showing up with like the different answers and they're changing their compositions. That seems to be the direction they want it to go in. And I know we're doing that thing, but like I watch Maru versus Stats. And I'm not about to say play like Maru, but what I am going to say is that game was one of the most exciting things I've ever watched. And I think a lot of that, of course, is the skill level. But the other part of that, too, is the scrappiness, the evolutionary play between the two of them, the changing compositions. And I've also seen StarCraft, because I played it, all of Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty, where Protoss is just like, no, I just keep making Colossus in all 3 matchups, and I keep making Void Rays and Wings of Liberty with my Colossus. And then I add Storm, and there's actually nothing you can do. And if you can do something, I'll Archon Toilet you. What is an Archon Toilet, Jeff? Well, my children, sit down for a second.
Oh, jeez.
And do a Google search, because at one point in time, at the height of StarCraft, this was the best level of play we've ever seen. The mothership used to drop black holes, up to 2 in a battle. And in that black hole was your entire army. And then the Protoss would literally take its 12 Archons and shove them into the black hole with your army. And then when you popped out, you occupied 1 space. And the Archons all gave a high five together on your army. And it evaporated. And I'll tell you what, we'll never get back to it. But that was the best StarCraft we've ever had.
Black Hole was like the coolest Zerg ability, for sure.
Oh, here's the video. Is this a video? Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is what I want.
So in Wings of Liberty, you're saying Protoss, if they got that army, it was the best army.
No, I'm being sarcastic, dude. Super sarcastic.
Okay.
It was absolutely garbage.
Sure.
It was some of the worst StarCraft we've ever seen.
What I took most of that conversation from Jeff actually was just like, I think he thinks Altair are super Void Ragers when he plays them on ladder.
Is it only 3 Archons? This video might really give me blue balls. He's not even
this
doing
is so
it.
gross.
Oh, that's not an Archon toilet, but good try. Well, okay, it's a little bit of just 2 going
There
in
were
there.
Archon toilets. They did occur.
Oh, it's a storm. Yeah, no, it's amazing. The
Look
best
at the
ever.
look on his face. It's so good.
Kiwi Kaki versus Stefano, though, dude. I was at that IPL and watched that happen live. That was.
I watched that happen live in the middle of the night in Korea.
Yeah.
I think Wolf was over my house and we were drinking, watching IPL, and we were like, what the fuck are we seeing?
That was the only good application of it. And then after that, it was just like salt mining.
Yeah.
The best, though, and I do miss this.
Until they figured out to put the Banelings in with it.
Yeah.
That was the move.
But then it was just like you're just souping in the middle of the game. You're like, whoa, here's the. But the best was because if you got their whole army in the black hole, there was a good like 6-7 seconds that nothing's happening. And that was where I got some of the most eloquent poems written about me that I've ever seen in my entire life. Where they're like, because there's just nothing happening. They're like, you think this is fucking funny, you son of a. And I'm like, well, here it comes. Boom. Anyways.
God, can you imagine this now with a disruptor being like timed out for when it ends?
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Beautiful. Bring it back. So I hear you, Ruff. I'll tell you what. Let's nerf the disruptor, but bring back the Archon toilet. And I think we got ourselves an agreement here.
Sounds like such a terrible idea, but it was fun to watch.
Sure, why not? I'll just lock it down with the OP Raven.
Now feedback, you bish. And we'll just do that. We'll play auto chess.
All right, there we go. We got our units switching back and forth. All right.
Well, hey, no, we appreciate your ideas, though. Did you have others, or is it just the disruptor that's really picking the cherry butts?
I was trying to pick something very modest that wouldn't change too much of the matchups, but would help a late game scenario in Protoss.
Yeah.
The other one is probably one that people wouldn't want, which is the revert of the Raven, because the point defense drone I felt like was something that was useful in the late game.
Oh, yeah. Damn, I haven't heard that in a while.
But that's just me. And I kind of reminisce of some of these really old builds, especially the first year of Legacy of the Void, where I would open up like 2 factory cyclones with 1 Raven, and then, Blink Stalkers jump on top of you and they're like, oh, I'm just going to wreck your army. And then that point defense drone just drops and those 8 cyclones lock on, and they instantly explode all at once.
Isn't that
You
great?
take no damage. That was great.
You missed the
But,
Warhound too, I guess, right?
it was pretty awesome. The Warhound, I never played the betas, so I wouldn't really know much about the Warhound, honestly.
You know what's funny about this video is playing right now, though? The Marines die instantly, but in the 1 second they get to shoot, they kill the mothership. Actually.
It's so silly.
It's still 200 Marines. They're like, fuck you. All right, we're dead. Because it's a lot of DPS coming out of there. The Archons could not do it fast enough. That's really good. Hey, you guys got any questions for Ruff? It can be about the balance. It can be about his WCS or anything like that. We're just kind of interviewing Ruff right now.
Well, okay, so forgive me if I missed this. I didn't see your actual group at Challenger, but I feel like it's been alluded to that it did not go well.
Well, he got Estrella first, which I'll say in his defense. Estrella is probably, like, as far as Protosses in the NA scene goes, he is behind Neeb, and he's maybe on the same level as Puck, if not, some could argue a little bit ahead or a little bit behind either way, but he's like number 2 or 3 Protoss.
Dude, Estrella, he's also like the Ruff of Protoss a little bit too with some of his builds. He did some weird shit against Scarlet, like these fast sentry builds that I've never seen anyone else pull off before.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder, like, because you are such an unorthodox player, how did you prep for this? And is there anything specific that went wrong that you kind of learned from this group? Because
So I usually go to these local lands on the East Coast, and I usually do really well. I always place in the money, or it could be Cheesadelphia, or like a DC land that Storm is hosting. I'll usually place there, and the thing is, whenever I go there, everybody's having fun, and I'm that kind of guy that's just not really having fun. I'm thinking about, okay, I need to win this. I need to, do this for my family, because I'm taking time out, and I haven't really got to sit back and enjoy myself as much as I would like to, like I did in the past. And so I would sit there and I would just study my opponents constantly, whether it's going through passive odds or, remembering how they like to play online. So when it came to Estrella, and it caught me completely off guard with the way he ended up playing, I studied a lot of his past VODs, and I watched a lot of his old WCS games from like last season, and he always made, like, on port, like, I specifically picked the maps that he liked because I knew he was going to do what I wanted him to do, or so I thought. And he would always do a certain kind of pathing with his probe, with his scouts, every single game. And had there been at least one game where he would have put a pylon in that corner of his base, I would not have attempted that build. But because of the past like 8 or 9 games I reviewed of him, he never put it there. He had his gateway, his his cybernetics core right there, where I can just easily assault the pylon. And so I took that risk in the first match. And it just went completely sour because he put a pylon there. And I feel like I want to blame who was it that played previously before that? It was Showtime and Marine Lord, I think. And you know how Marine Lord put a factory on the outside on automation and was going to float it in? I think if he was watching that game, it might have gave him an idea to put it there because he thought that was cheesy. And I remember playing him like 2 years ago or so, where I would take games off of him on the ladder, where I would do the same thing with floating that factory. And I think that that's what ended up happening. And the funny thing is, I haven't done that in a long time. It's been a very long time since I floated buildings inside someone's base, unless I'm trolling going ghosts or something. And when I did, it was because the Widow Mine was permanently cloaked all the time back then. It didn't get the nerf that it currently has now. And you would just walk the mines into the base. So I think he might have put a pylon there thinking that maybe I would do something like that. And it completely shattered my build there. I was thinking about not risking too much and just doing 1 barracks, but I went full out and did 2. At that point, I tried to do what I did like versus MCannon because he spotted my proxy once and tried to do a different proxy on the outside of the map, and he spotted that one, whereas MCannon didn't. So maybe he also watched those games that I ended up playing. And then at that point, you know, it just kind of spirals out of control. You did a double proxy, you committed to a heavy proxy in the beginning, you're pretty far behind. So I tried to all in at that point. I almost killed the army, but even at that point, he had 3 bases. He probably would have just made a few more units and been fine. Second game is a scenario I haven't encountered. I would have been doing this gasless build, and I had a plan to just macro normally, but I ended up going for an eBay block, and he was prepared for it. So my eBay didn't really get that much health off. Set me behind, and he took my gases. And normally I don't commit to the eBay block. And when I did, it delayed my command center. And usually when they take the gases in my base, I would just take the natural gases. But because my command center was delayed, I didn't get to have my gases at the correct time, set me behind, and I got stuck in turtle mode at that point. If I probably should have switched to bio at that point. But I'm such a heavy mech player, I'm pretty stubborn. I stuck to mech there. And then I just kind of got behind. And when I looked at the replay, even though he had a bunch of bases on the map, I actually had more supply when I moved out. So maybe at that point, my best move was to go for the main base and then scatter units across the map. And something I used to do is just drop Widow Mines at my third base all over the place with Tunneling Claw, just in case of counterattacks, and then put up more turrets. But I guess in WCS, I wasn't thinking about that. Got into my base and counterattacked me and did the DT hit on me. And I figured DTs were coming in anyways if I have no orbital commands. And I think that was just game. So if we want to go into my TBTs, I actually played those relatively standard to my macro abilities. It's just Epic hit me with something I've never seen before, and it got in my base really early. And I was pretty impressed by it, but I wasn't impressed that I lost so easily with the economic damage I took. But that's kind of what TBT is about sometimes. And then the second game with Epic, I told myself, I'm like, I'm doing so bad, man. I need to really pull it. And I felt like I did. I put up a good fight playing my kind of style. I got fast third base. I didn't just outright die. Went into a macro game, but I feel like the attrition war just went in his end. And, you know, it kind of just ended the game right there. So
nice. Thank you for the recap. I do feel like you're trying to get to the 30-minute mark on talking about your games, trying to get to the 30-minute mark. That was... I'm just teasing. It's the comedic relief. I have to do that. That's why I'm here. Okay. Well, thank you, Ruff. Well, of course, there's a lot of people in the chat that are saying they want to check out your stream and stuff like that. Ruff streams all the damn time. We're going to talk about that and link it and all that stuff at the end of the show. Please do check him out. It's really interesting. One of my favorite Terran streams because there's... It's funny that Ruff describes himself as a non-cheeser because you're a cheeser, but that's okay. You need to own it. It's beautiful.
He's a cheeser and a long game player too.
That's still cheesing.
In tournaments, I will cheese like crazy because I want to win.
There you go.
And since I'm good at it, on my stream, I'm trying to practice macro because I'm not as good at it, if that makes sense.
Ruff is currently holding on to like 17,000 of my ladder points right now, so there's no bitterness here at all. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Ruff. That was really cool. And, you know, joking aside, it's really valuable and awesome to hear the perspective of these guys that get in there and do it. It's something a lot of people, of course, would do if they could, but it takes a tremendous amount of skill. Just qualifying, he had to get through MCannon, who, you know, is a very popular streamer, but also a really good player. And he was able to do that. That's amazing. And I like that you talked about the mind games, too, about, like, why did Estrella check that spot that he did, what you thought you could get away with. And because that was actually probably my worst part of my pro gaming career was every time I thought I was doing something smart, I probably out-thought myself and then made it easy for my opponent, and they just bopped me on the face. And it does happen quite a bit, and it's amazing when we have these players that avoid those situations a lot or just outplay their opponents. Like, there's so much ways to win in StarCraft. It's really cool. So let's move on to our next subject. We got the GSL. First, well, just the GSL, waiting for...
Well,
good,
Super
Dan.
Tournament, or?
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to wait until Cobra pulls up something here. He's going through his memes.
Super tournament was really balanced.
We had the super tournament. I guess we didn't talk about that, did we? We should.
Yeah, no, we definitely should talk about super tournament a little bit.
Another Protoss win, so I almost just didn't want to even mention it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Another. There's so many.
Ugh.
They win so many tournaments. Ugh. Just so sick of them. So yeah, super tournament occurred. And I mean, I think people already kind of know the story of it, where Maru got a seed for winning GSL, and then Gumiho was the only Terran that made it in. But then Gumiho beat Dark Stats and Parting to get to the finals against Classic. So if you look at this statistically, you might say, well, not enough Terrans really qualified. But then when you look at the round of 8, where it's 1 Terran against 7 Protoss, statistically, he shouldn't have even made it. So I think that there might be something wrong in the other direction.
How do we eliminate Terran from Korea altogether? You know what I mean?
Actually, one of the things I thought was most exciting about the GSL Super Tournament, and I'm a little biased because I'm friends with him, seeing Parting do so well again after so long, because he's been more of a streamer and a memer than a real player. It was really cool to see him actually kick some ass. It was a good thing to see.
I mean, I agree, and I'm a big Parting fan too, but he's still like 6,500 on career or whatever. He's like,
oh yeah, I don't think he's not going to win a GSL anytime soon, but I mean, he showed that he's got fight in him, and I like seeing that, because I was really worried that he would just be a streamer forever, you know?
My favorite is the days after. He's such a funny fucking guy, but he'd be in a stream and people would be like, Parting, how come you didn't win Super Tournament? And without skipping a beat, he'd be like, because you don't subscribe to me. Why you bitch?
Yeah. He's so good at that, dude. I love him.
Man after my own heart. That's how you do it. You turn it right around.
He's such a character. I love Parting. I think everyone does.
Yeah.
He's our big boy.
Yeah.
Well, everyone likes him except for like European and NA ladder around 5,400, because they're like hitting his 9th alt account and it's named something to make fun of you, and then he just like murderlates you. That's my personal experience. Like every time, like, let's get some ladder games going here, guys. Hit Parting. I'm like, okay, here we go. Kills me with the first 3 stalkers. I'm like, this was fine. No, he's got a great stream. He's and it's the same. There's a little bit of the Pult effect, I would say, with Parting for me, right? Because he does stream mostly in English and he is funny as shit. He's just a legitimately funny guy. I'm a huge fan of his stream. So same as Rifkin, I have like whenever he competes, I wanted him to do well, and in the Super Tournament he did, which was cool. It was fun.
My favorite memory of Parting was that one time I went to Korea. He got really drunk at karaoke with me and Zombie Grub, and I had a picture of like fried chicken on my shirt, and he tried to legitimately tried to eat my shirt.
Yeah.
It's good, man.
So drunk and some other stuff, I guess, but yeah. Good. I'm just kidding.
So yeah, for Super Tournament though, I think the thing that was really exciting was the amount of mech that we saw against Protoss, because that's something we never really see work at the GSL level. But Maru went for 3 macro mech games against Stats and went 2-1 with that strategy. And Gumiho, I believe, played 2 mech games overall for his TVPs, or maybe I'm off. Maybe it's like 3 mech games, but they did well. Like the mech games overall just did very well, and it was very surprising and interesting to see. And they were very different. Maru and Gumiho had almost no overlap in how they played their mech. So I mean, Ruff, I'm sure you must have watched that. So I would like to hear your kind of idea about the 2 types of mech that you saw.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of what I saw there, and normally I have such a hard time doing Banshees, but I saw Gumiho doing them, and my experience on the ladder is that they'll get Phoenix and then they'll Revolution them, and then they get shot down instantly. And he just didn't really overcommit to them. And he started focusing more on the ground. He just used them to harass a little bit. And then later on, he started reincorporating them when there really weren't any kind of like airiness on the map. And I thought it was just genius the way he was playing. I was really excited about it. It gave me some ideas because I've been struggling with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm very curious to actually try it out and see how it goes.
Ruff, by the way, just verbalized something this is another caster inside joke, but it's actually real. Roddy and I often talk about this during our broadcast, but like what fucking Gumiho or Maru pulls off against Stats and Creator and these guys, if you tried to do that at 5,100 MMR North American ladder, you would get destroyed by a guy whose name is Jimmy Bob 5416. He's a 19-year-old kid that's going to college in some fucking California's place. And what he does is he waits for the Protoss to not wall in while they're taking their third, because that's what these guys are pulling off. And then he myrtleites them with like 100,000 lings. And we just laugh because I watch these games and I'm like, I can't do this. This is not real. On the NA ladder, you have to pretend like you're naked running through a cornfield backwards. And you have to protect every entry point. You cannot leave an opening, because if you do, there will be corn. And it makes my pro gaming like experience and watching so difficult, because I'm like, wow, that's what StarCraft could be. There's a cornery cut. That's elegant and beautiful. And when I play, no.
It's a completely different world, right?
It's a different world, man.
I love the metaphor of running naked backwards through a cornfield.
That's like Ruff's like, and it's the same thing. It's so funny because like the first Banshee, and then Tasteless like, all right, gonna make its way to the middle line here. How many kills, Dan? 4, 5, 6? I'll be pretty good. Yeah, whoop, 7. Wow, that's incredible. NA ladder, 6 Phoenix hit it mid-map. You haven't even finished cloak. The guy's like, I don't have anything else. I'm 1 base Phoenix right now, you dumb bitch. And it's like, okay, well, how did my 2 Cyclones do? And you like walk out. It's now 9 Phoenix. What did you think he was doing? And that dies too.
I don't have anything else. I'm 1 base Cyclone, you bitch.
Yeah. That's our experience, dude. It's so funny. Jeff, you tried out this new build, dude. It's really sick. I'm like, no! I forge expand to survive the Ling phase, you asshole, okay? If I've earned the right to make a robo, I'll make 2 of them, because I need them for the roaches that are coming after that.
Right.
Oh my god.
Oh.
I love the idea that when he catches the Banshee mid-map with all his Phoenixes, is that he has to exclaim that he doesn't have anything else.
It's the like complete lack of applicability that makes this so funny though, because you're like, this build is sick, dude. Obliterated. It's like it's not put down gently. It's like, what were you doing? Like, of course I have 9 Phoenix.
It's the realest thing ever.
Yeah.
This happens to all of us here, except for those of you watching who are actually top players. You'll just hit this shit.
I love it.
What are you doing? 1 base, I don't have anything else. God.
It's like being the little drummer boy just outside of Christmas dinner. You're like on the window, like watching GSL. You're like, wow, they're getting into a blink battle now at minute 9. That's incredible. It usually takes me 17 minutes to get there, and I've got all my buildings on fire. This is incredible.
It's awesome.
Well, thank you.
So we were talking about good mech builds. It was a good aside to explain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. What did you think about Maru's mech, Ruff? Because it was very different.
So surprising. I actually did not watch those matches. I actually started watching from the round of 8 on up.
You should check it out.
I actually thought he would just probably buy out. I did not know that he actually went mech as well. So
3
I
mech
do need to check him out.
2 and 1, and it's macro play. So it's like that year 0 game. Woo, it's good.
It was a good series, and PvP. It's funny because I always have like this apologist state, because the PvP used to suck back in Heart of the Storm, and even Wings of Liberty was like 4-gate versus 4-gate forever, which is terrible. It's great now in Legacy of the Void. It is actually quite fun. I don't know that Terrans and Zergs love watching it, but it's not the stinker that it used to be. I think it's a fun mirror matchup. So Super Tournament was you don't want a PvP final. And it's good we didn't have that, but pretty cool.
I'm actually curious what your guys is like. So what used to be everyone hated ZVZ and Heart of the Swarm, right? Most boring thing. Nowadays, for me, I'm actually thinking it's PvZ a lot of the time. I like PvP and ZVZ so much more than I ever have in the past. I'm curious what your guys is like worst air quotes matchup is.
I would say PvZ. Ruff says TVP. Dan, what do you say?
I think right now.
Am I right, Ruff?
I think I dislike PvP the most right now.
Oh wow.
PvP. The thing is, a good PvP I really enjoy, but there's a lot of PvPs where it's like two blind robots running into the wall over and over. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, guys. Just everything's proxied and nothing makes sense. And all you're doing is trying to kill each other. And wow, one of you won. And it's like, I'm like, you guys don't even want to try to outplay your opponent. You don't even want to. It's not on the table. It's not in the cards. You're not interested in being better than your opponent. You just want to flip coins until it's over. And
Can
then
I
go
help
play
you
against
enjoy PvP more?
Terraners or
If you think
Yeah.
of the adepts trying to shade into the game, into the base eternally for like the first 20 minutes as sequential Home Alone movies, it's so much more interesting because there's like 2 adepts, and then like Hero comes out with the other's like, well, I've got 6, so if he throws down the shield battery, I'll actually slam it down and go into his base. It's like, it's so fun, isn't it though? Because it's just like, who can get more
It's
adepts in
great.
there? And they're like, how do we block it? And then they like, let him in, but they have 9 Phoenix. They're like, surprise, motherfucker! And they're like, oh shit, didn't see that coming. It's pretty cool.
You know, they've got drunk history, right? I want like drunk recaps with Jeff, just like an actual show dedicated to recapping WCS from this weekend. But he's just
Yeah.
drunk and doing this sarcastically, like it's so
but I'm
good.
stone sober. That's the scary part. We'll call it drunk, but then they'll just find out that this is actually my lucid state. I'm just completely sober right now. Yeah. Oh my god. Well, hey, did we have? So was it just Super Turn? We haven't kicked off GSL yet.
Well, GSL Code S starts on Monday.
Monday.
Actually, we have a crazy schedule coming up where we're going to do in 2 weeks the entire round of 32.
Oh my god.
So we do actually have the groups, which I feel like we should probably
Okay.
tell people what the groups are at least.
We have a picture for that.
Do we? Now?
Cobra's on it.
All right, let's get that up. But yeah, so the GSL schedule, everything got, you know how everything was announced kind of a little bit late? I think that's why everything's like really pushed, right? So we just finished Super Tournament. This week there's no GSL, then we start Monday, and it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. And then next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Oh, interesting. Now remember when Dan
yeah, and
says every day that he says is actually the day before that for the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's true.
There's 4 people in Korea listening to this right now that really appreciate that he talks the way he does. But for virtually the other 20,000 people, when he says
Shout
a
out to
day,
Melty.
just do the day before.
Yeah, he's the other one. And then the other 2 days are KSL right in between. So I'm gonna have a busy little time. But yeah, we have the groups. I don't know if we can bring those up. Let me post that in there. But overall, the qualifiers, we had some really interesting stuff happen. Like, for instance, DRG is back in Code S.
Pretty
That
cool.
was really exciting. Unfortunately, when someone qualifies, someone else does not qualify, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Dang.
But like MC
Well,
didn't
tell
make
me
it this
more.
season. Yeah.
You know what? We forgot to mention MC's getting married, by the way. Congrats to him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Congrats to MC. But yeah, he didn't make it into Code S, unfortunately. Losira is not in Code S for the first time in 400 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was like second to Gumiho only in GSL appearances, I think.
Scarlet is
And
in,
now
though.
someone
That's
else has
cool.
tied him. Yeah, Scarlet made it. Special made it. Sort of was actually very, very close to making it this time.
That's that's why they're not in WCS, right? The Blizzard finally put the rule like you can only do one, not both.
Nope. They switched it back for this season. You do both now.
Oh, okay.
Quick aside, has anyone ever seen Sort of and Ruff in the same room at the same time?
You said
No.
sort of?
No, they have not. You didn't know that you and Sort of are the same person? Interesting. That's exactly what Sort of or Ruff would say.
Yeah.
But
He's a very handsome man. It's good that you guys look very similar.
so yeah, anyways, the groups, let me just read them for the podcast people. Group A that we're going to be starting on in 4 days is Maru, Armani, Innovation, and Patience. Then we got Group B, Gumiho, Trust, Impact, Zest. That's a pretty crazy group. Group C, Classic, True, Solar, Hurricane. Group D, Dear, Creator, Alive, Sue. Group E, Rogue, Fantasy, Lenok, Stats. Okay, that group
That's the
is
group of death.
fucking madness. Oh my god, that group is crazy.
Yep.
Okay, Group F, Trap, Scarlet, Keen, Hero. Are we ever going to have Scarlet not in groups with Keen and Hero? This is just like, I don't even understand. I think she's been in groups with them in every GSL season.
Yep.
And then we got Group G, Dark, DRG, Cure, and Parting. And then Group H, SOS Special, Ragnarok, TUI. Oh, that's a pretty good group too, actually.
Dan, does Maru win it again? 5 in a row.
Yeah, I actually think he will at this point.
Nobody can stop him?
I think that people are not really playing that well against Maru at this point. I think his like legend is preceding him, and people are not analyzing correctly. And I think that the players that really can beat him, it's like are not doing that well overall. I don't know. It's like we need to see someone like SOS hit him or TY hit him or Innovation hit him. Those are the types of players I think that really I might even bet on them against Maru. But yeah, I could see him getting 5th in the row.
Does Maru, is it 1 versus 4? Does Maru face Patience first?
Let me check. No, he should be against Armani first.
Okay.
So it's like top seed versus bottom seed because all these are seeded groups.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, I see it.
So he should be first seed and Innovation should be second. And yeah.
Well, there you go. You guys got any thoughts real quick? Riff?
Just excited for the games, man. GS always puts on really great matches, except for the odd day where it's like 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. But
yeah, we have mostly good games. Good
hearing
names.
tasteless talk with his multiple studied.
I think that
College
E and B
education.
group, I'm definitely going to be there checking those out.
Group B, yeah.
Group E is insane. That's super fun. I think
Pretty
Group B looks really good, and Group H looks really good too.
A lot of good stuff.
And I generally like the battles that we see between Scarlet, Keen, and Hero. I feel like I've actually seen play those two so many times now.
well, what's interesting about that, not to really revive the EU conversation we had earlier, but what I think I really enjoy about a lot of the EU players is you do see a lot of them square off against each other over and over and over again. So it makes it actually pretty dynamic. And with Scarlet and Keen and these guys, it's kind of the same thing where it's not going to be like the craziest games you've ever seen, but you know that they know each other so well at this point. They keep running into each other at tournaments over and over again.
Yep.
And so a part of me actually looks more forward to like that group than say Stats' group, even though Stats' group is like the stack group, right?
I
don't know. I don't hate that they keep running into each other. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, these NA players that just keep qualifying for the GSL. It's tough for me too because there's no European players doing it. So just you look at this and you're like, oh. You have to just drop down to that mid-tier European scene where they could probably take on the mid-tier NA scene. Like we have to have a tournament to figure that out, but certainly there's no competition for the top, and I think that's fair.
The thing is, you bring up a good point. There's no rebuttal.
Yeah, no, there can't be. But Fear Dragon will make a tweet about it, and you guys can talk about it there. That'd be good.
Preach.
Okay. Let's move on and pay homage to a truly dead game, Brood War. Let's talk about KSL.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. It's not dead. It's alive in Korea. Like Dennis Rodman.
All right. So, KSL started last week. It overlapped the Super Tournament, so I actually was not there and have not finished all of the games as of yet. But it continues tonight. We already kind of talked about who made it into the tournament when the qualifiers took place a couple weeks ago. But yeah, tonight is going to be Miniverse Action and 4GG against Soul Key, all from Group C. So that Miniverse Action match is going to be very nice. People should definitely tune into that. 4GG versus Soul Key. I don't know that will be super good, but I hope 4GG can bring it. But yeah, I mean, so far, nothing like too crazy has occurred. You know, Brood War right now is quite active over here, as I keep telling people, and a lot of the players that were slightly lower ranked are really rising right now, and we've definitely seen that pop up. Like, if you look at who's winning in like, for instance, Modesty took down Sharp 3-2 in a nice series, and Miso and Ample actually won their matches against much more veteran players in Shine and Snow. So the guard is switching somewhat. We have a lot of new, really high-end players that are kind of showing themselves in these tournaments now.
Yeah, I'll be excited for that last versus JD match. I'm going to try to watch that.
Oh, that Group D is like so silly.
Soul Key 4GG is pretty cool too. I know you were saying 4GG is not what he used to be, but he was a fun sniper, like prepared matchups.
Yeah, he's good. Like, but he came out of the military somewhat recently, so he's not like. Yeah. Like, I don't think he's actually a top 16 player in the world for sure. Like, I think he's a top 16 Terran, for sure.
You think Soul Key will bop him?
Well, Soul Key's like the defending champ. Like, I think that Soul Key will probably get to the top 4 of this tournament without too much problem. So, yeah.
Cool.
That's
all right.
Feeling.
Jokes aside, by the way, guys. There'll be like 2 people upset at me saying it's dead games. Not dead games. Doing very well. Very cool. I'm excited. I'm going to watch JD versus Last. That'll be really cool. But that's it for the KSL news. It's going at the same time as GSL. There's a lot of StarCraft right now. So if you are a fan of StarCraft, there's plenty to watch. Let's get into the Q&A section real quick. Cobra will show you exactly how to do that. There's even a Q&A command in the chat. If you're a $5 Patreon or more, you can ask us questions.
I love the ridiculous questions you guys get, by the way. Like, as I watch the Pylon show all the time, it's like my favorite part of the show. I don't care about any of the junk we've done up to this point.
Oh, yeah.
This is the best part of the Pylon show.
Oh yeah, and you're not alone. The most controversial thing I've ever done in my life apparently was change the way we take questions on the Q&A part of the segment. I'll never do it again. And I also did it silly. So here we are. Let's get to these questions now. Oh, they're right there. Never mind. What avenues for suggestions are there for the GSL? This is from Gildan. Example, with the Observer's PC, is there any way the health bars can be turned on for when units are injured rather than only when selected? So before I turn this over, I just want to say, I love you, Gildan. You ask questions each week. We really appreciate your support. We get these questions kind of all the time, and there's like small productions where I can kind of see it. But a lot of times, if something is the way it is, again, so like the GSL in its like 10th year, and you're like, I want health bars on, they'll probably give you an email. You'll send the email, but like Dan said earlier, it has the same percentage of helping as you writing it on a piece of paper, and instead of throwing it into the ocean, you actually rectally consume it. Like you just kind of cram it right up your butt. The same amount of people will read it. Dan, do you have a more constructive answer?
I do. Believe it or not, more constructive answer than what Jeff has.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have suggestions for GSL, I think as a non-Korean person, the best thing that you can probably do, your highest chance of success with that, would be to tweet at the Afrika. I think it's Afrika TV _GL. It's like the global Afrika TV Twitter. They're really, the people that run that are pretty on top of it. So if you actually at them, like sometimes people ask me questions that they need help with, and I just basically hit reply and tag that, and normally that account will help them, right? So that's probably the best that you can do. I doubt that they'll switch the health bar thing.
Is there a reason for it?
Yeah.
Like, have they defined that at any point?
I think that they're kind of taking some things from what StarCraft 1 does well. Like you might notice, I know I've noticed, is they turn off the production tab a lot more right now in GSL than we ever did before. Which I think could be good. It's like kind of catching me off guard as I'm getting used to reduced production tab.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it just has to do with the more data that you're getting in, the more obvious everything that's about to happen. There's less suspense and stuff, so you can actually create more suspense by having that. It's also less visually cluttered by taking off the health bars and things. Hardcore people obviously want it on, but for the overall quality of the show, this probably long-term would be better. So I'd be surprised if they change it, but definitely that would be the way you would want to go about contacting them, I would say.
Shout out to our boy Apollo way back in the day when he was working with DreamHack. That was one of his things that he wanted to push for, is actually reducing the amount of information you have. And his argument was in StarCraft 2, you know everything that's coming as it's showing up, and it reduces the amount of like, wow, it's an ultra switch or something like that. You actually see it coming like 5 minutes in advance. So it's not as exciting. Interessante.
Yeah.
All right.
And you always know what's happening. It's harder to get excited.
Hyper Turtle?
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say I'm on the other end of this though, where like I feel you can have all the information and still have it be very exciting. And I know I'm not speaking for a majority or anything like that, but if I can be honest, the one thing that turns me off about GSL is the lack of health bars. And I'm just curious what the audience percentage of that would be. Not to say someone's right or wrong. I'm just actually really curious what the percentage of that is.
Well, okay, but I want to submit for your approval the fact that people don't actually know what they want.
Wow.
You got to.
Well, that's a rule of life. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, it's like if you just let the community vote on everything and make the GSL the show they want. First off, it's going to be day 9 and tasteless casting, so I won't like that.
Jesus, yeah.
But like
but they're brothers.
There's like 7 degrees between the two of them too. It's incredible.
For stuff like this, I think that you have to have some sort of vision of what you're trying to create, and then make that as good as you can make it. And Yeah, because I feel like with the activity of high-level StarCraft players, they'd want those health bars on and they would go on. But I think if you can make this a bit more suspenseful, a bit more exciting, again, I think it's a long-term play that you can gain more fans that way.
So here's my thoughts as a GSL fan, right? I think that Artosis and Tasteless are like the best fucking casters in the world. And whether I can see those health bars or not, they're going to hype up the game for me. And they'll be determining whether I'm hyped or not whether I know that there's a swap coming or something. But yeah, I'm not trying to make an argument. This is actually something I get to talk about often. So
I think what's interesting about this is without polling people, without knowing, there's just going to be people in two camps, right? So if we found out that it was like the vast majority of people want health bars on, then I would think it's pretty silly to have them off and be like, no, we think it's better. What I think is interesting about the GSL product is it's vastly non-Koreans that consume that content. And it's Koreans that are running it, but also trying to kind of make it for Korean consumers. I'm not going to out them fully here or something like that, but they're not pandering to the non-Korean scene, which is kind of funny because that is like, what's the number, Dan? If you thought 85% of the audience?
Oh yeah, no, the GSL is much more consumed by non-Koreans.
Yeah,
it is certainly true, and it's certainly like we follow the Korean broadcasts and stuff like that. That stuff's all true for sure. It's in Korea, run by Koreans for Koreans, but it is more popular abroad.
Very interesting.
My kind of finishing thoughts on this, though, are like, as much as I would love to argue that turn the health bars on because I want them on, I also remember that GSL quality gated their stream despite huge outcry against it. So I feel like no matter how, you could have a petition of like 100,000 people say turn the health bars on, and I really don't think it'll change.
Did they revert that though?
Literally owned by a different set of people now. The show.
Okay.
Quality, we were owned by a completely different company.
Yeah. I don't remember, but didn't they do that, but then revert it after the outcry?
No, not for a long time.
But eventually, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it became like a rule that WCS had to be free to watch or something like that at a certain quality.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what did it eventually. So a certain year, it switched over. But we've gone through. GSL has been owned by multiple companies at this point, and Afrika TV is just fantastic and doing their best.
It's tough for me to relate because in my ivory tower on top of my horse, the Wi-Fi is so incredible, and just I don't really associate with the unwashed masses. So just like when you say it's quality gated, I'm like, well, I already have the highest quality. It's impossible for me to know what you're talking about. But appreciate you guys clarifying that. Next, Gildan, thank you, by the way. Please don't stick your questions up your butt. I think that's not what needs to happen. Hyper Turtle asks, which is your
butt is a Patreon,
or you can too. That's the thing, right? We're all adults.
Artosis.
There you go. Everything's advertisement. Which is your favorite final boss? Opening a champagne bottle or juggling a flower bouquet, trophy, and giant novelty check? RuFF, what is your favorite final boss?
Final boss. This is a tough one, but it's probably going to have to be that check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you watch Innovation hold the flowers and not quite know what to do with it, that was one of the most transcendent moments in my existence. Like when I saw that, I knew that this is what I wanted to be doing. Just like to see him sniff it, pull it back, look at it, and not quite be sure what to do with it. And
did he toss it into the audience?
Yeah, he was handed flowers. Just like, what do you want me to do? That's my favorite. You guys have any other answers? Rifkin, what's your favorite final boss?
I don't know, actually. Like, I never really think about that. Like, oh God, this is so cheesy. It's the journey. It's the game, right? It's not who's the big badass at the end for me, I guess, for anything.
It's very.
I don't have a good answer. I'm sorry.
No, you do not.
I've literally never given it 2 seconds of thought before. I'm sorry.
Okay. The journey? Did you just say that?
I know it's so cheesy, but like,
I'm about to start playing some Journey right now.
Yeah. Well, that would be a better answer than what he just did. There it is. That's Innovation with a bouquet of flowers. That is the moment. All right, next question. Flying right through these. Neon asks, how did or do your parents and family think of your gaming career? Caster or pro gamer? Any wholesome or funny stories regarding that? Thank you all for this wonderful show. Thank you. Anybody want to jump on that one?
My mother thought that I had internet addiction because they were always on 60 Minutes running things about people who were addicted to EverQuest.
Yeah.
So she was quite certain that I had some serious problems going on for quite some time until
Look
I
at him now,
finally
Mom.
showed her my plane ticket to Korea. And she was like, oh shit, I guess he wasn't fucking around as much as I thought.
Nice.
So what was the question again?
How does your family feel about your pro gaming career? As a caster or otherwise?
Yeah, that was tough to get. It's not just sitting in your room yelling loudly. This is like actually going to lead to something. I think even now my parents still don't really believe it, but they've heard of mutual friends talking about what I do, so they kind of believe it's something.
And you haven't asked for money in a long time now, right? So there you go.
I wrote my mom like a $6K check for her cancer stuff, and she still didn't believe that it came from a stream. Like she didn't get where it came from, which I don't hate. That's just like a different generation, but yeah, it's weird trying to get acceptance, I guess.
That's very cool. Ruff, what about you, man?
So my dad was actually the one that got me into Brood War, so he thinks it's pretty awesome. He said, as long as I'm not a debt to society, I'm doing good.
Oh.
And so
it's a high bar to set, dude.
Thank you, Dad.
So there's that. My mom, she doesn't really care too much about it. She didn't like that I'm on the computer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She always thought I was addicted to it. My wife's side of the family are the ones that set the bar high. They don't want me to do streaming. They want me to do like the normal kind of thing, but my wife wants me to do what I love, and I definitely appreciate that. So
very cool.
That's why she's your wife and her family's not your wife.
There you go.
Well, also you can't legally marry that like a collection of people like that. Kind of weird, but yeah,
that's true. It would be
sounds
a bad
like
choice
he got himself a good partner. That's the good thing. For me, growing up, I think my parents had a very traditional, funny, like they were very loving and supportive, but did not want me on the game as much as I was. But there's no horror story. They supported me, and that was cool. And same kind of thing as Dan and some of these guys. When I was like, the local news crew wanted to interview me for playing in the World Finals and stuff like that for Brood War. They were like, "Oh, this is kind of real." And then I got signed by EG, and it became like a party favor. They're like, "So you play? How's the video games going, Jeff?"
Yeah.
But then my mom, like my brother, would put on State of the Game, and she'd watch it, and be like, "Jeff swears a lot," but she watched a bunch. So it's good. They're very supportive. Sumat.
Have you seen the Pylon show?
No, I don't think so. It's a tough one. If you don't know StarCraft, I think this would be a pretty bad show to watch.
Unless you like penguins, then watch today's episode.
The beginning makes sense, yes. Yep.
I was waiting for a penguin to be brought up again.
Well, so these are questions that were asked days ago. Wait till the bottom. Sometimes that's usually where Fear Dragon lurks at the bottom of these questions. There'll be something. Sumatkin, hey guys, love the show. And what you're doing for the StarCraft scene. Thank you, friend. A friend and I got to talking, and we were trying to figure out what would be the best tasting Zerg unit, but we couldn't agree. So I'm asking you guys for your opinions. Bonus points for how it would be prepared and served. Ruff is a guy that's thought a lot about this. I kind of want to know. With you first, if you had to consume a Zerg unit, what would be the most tasty?
This is going to sound... the only thing that comes to mind is the drone. Just because I see it so often. I love opening up Hellions, and I'm seeing all these drones die all the time. And the first thing that comes to mind is just barbecue. And everybody mentions it all the time on my stream. As far as it being tasty and served, probably smoked.
Sure.
I would say smoked.
420. Soak it up.
And they got them crab arms, so I'm thinking crab is pretty good. So
yeah. I like your logic. Rifkin, what about you, man?
Yeah, the Ravager kind of already has like its own little hot pot on its back. I gotta imagine if you could like rip off those legs one at a time, dip it in, that'd probably be tasty.
I like where this is going. Dan, you're a vegetarian, so this is a tough question for you, but you got to break out of your diet and eat a Zergian. What are you going to do?
Well, I gotta first off say the crab arms, as you call them on the drone. I thought that those were its mouth, like its teeth, forever. Anyways, like for like 10 years, I was certain that it grabbed minerals with its mouth and brought them back. I was 100% certain.
Okay.
Probably the Mutalisk. It looks like it flies, so
Got some fat on there.
and it looks like a shrimp
It's
or
like a
something.
shrimp. Yeah.
Okay.
Just eat it raw. Yeah, that's it.
Good answer, guys,
That's
but
fine.
actually incorrect. The correct answer is Kerrigan, and I would prepare her with edible undies. Okay. Next question.
Well
Colson.
played.
Yeah, I thought a lot
Yep.
about that myself as well. Colson Dreamel asks, "What do you guys think of the collegiate scene?" You could stop there and probably say it don't. And do you think it is an ideal way to increase the number of active pro players? If so, what would you like to see schools or other organizations improve on? Perhaps scholarships or events or exposure, coaching, support staff. Rifkin, it's probably been a bee in your bonnet to get it out there. Can you please share your thoughts on the collegiate StarCraft 2 scene and whether or not you think if they gave them scholarships, it could improve the pro gaming scene?
Well, so actually, I do have some thoughts on it, but not quite the direction I think this question was going.
Okay.
First off, I think that anything that leads to new talent is always good, right? Let's just put that out there. But the collegiate scene, and it seems to be, I want to say almost more specifically TESPA because they're ties with Blizzard, have some weird priorities that I don't always agree with. Like, for example, there's no official WCS Challenger qualifier cast, but instead they're casting like the TESPA finals of like players nobody knows. No offense to those players, but I'm just saying not recognizable. And stuff like that always is a little shocking to me, I guess, because that choice there isn't fostering new talent. They're still getting the prize, whether that's broadcast or not. And this is just a recent example, but just over time, TESPA has had weird priorities, I guess. And I don't know that I always agree with them. And I'm not saying they're bad or evil or anything, but the collegiate scene, it doesn't seem that important. It's important because it fosters growth, but it doesn't seem that important that it gets a lot of Blizzard's attention and funding.
I think it's important to those that participate, but they haven't seemed to focus on expanding the viewership on that or exposure.
Yeah, like if they worked on it more and it grew to be like a cool league, that'd be different. But that's not how it plays out. So I don't know. Like I don't really like it, to be honest. But I recognize that it's good for like new talent.
Dan, we're gonna try to keep your questions at a minimum here because this is a collegiate question and you haven't been there. So if we could tweet at Tasteless, probably get his feedback on this.
Yeah, maybe get his feedback. I don't know if he's awake yet.
Yeah.
About the collegiate thing, so I guess I don't see it within StarCraft 2. Like I report on it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. But I can speak from a little bit of experience from Heroes of the Storm, because I did Heroes of the Storm for the first 2 years. So the first year, I wasn't active when they like actively playing the game or anything when they asked me to cast it, and then I played it continually, pretty competitively on the ladder and stuff.
Yeah.
For right up through the next year when I casted the tournament. So when it was announced the second year, it actually, and obviously Heroes of the Dorm is bigger than anything we have collegiate wise within really anything, but the excitement level on the server, people just talked about it all the time because I was playing on the NA server, right? And it got really active. There was a ton of people playing, talking about it. They would just ask like, oh, are any of you guys going to play in that and stuff? And there was a vibe about it, and people were very active and very excited and really trying hard to get into that gigantic tournament of Heroes of the Dorm. So I think that done in the right way, it definitely adds a lot. And that it's a very convenient way to like partition amateur play away from professional play. So it's like, yeah, you're going to college. Obviously, you're not going to be as good as Cyril, right? Who's not going to college right now, or Artosis that never went to college. But it gives you an area of, I don't know. It kind of makes sense, and I think it could be very, very good. I don't know what it's doing for StarCraft right now, but they should continue onwards with it.
Yeah, I don't think I can give a better answer than that. I agree. RuFF, you want to add anything, or are we good?
No, got nothing to really add. I just think that it's definitely a good thing doing something like this. So yeah.
Suppy thinks it's a good thing. He's been getting a doctorate, so he's been competing it for 10 years now. It's amazing. Red Gunner Guy asks, have you seen the work of, and he's giving me it's a u/, so I assume this is a Reddit link of some sort. Nakma?
Or maybe it's stuff that you and Nakma did together.
Nope. Hang on, there's more here. Does some amazing StarCraft 2 and Brood War art. Giving a shout out. Hope to show some his work live. He's cool with it. And then here's the link. And we have seen it on StarCraft 2 Reddit. It is beautiful and awesome.
Oh, is this the 3D stuff that's been getting posted a lot?
Yeah. It's really cool.
Oh, that stuff actually looks so crisp. I love it. It's like cinematic quality.
Yeah. It is very cool. So there you go. Check him out. Big shout out.
Oh, that's cool. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really good.
He's in Korea too, Dan, so you can go visit him and have some boba or something like that.
That's exactly what I do when I find out that someone's in Korea.
Show up on his door some boba, Bray.
Yeah.
Pylon shows us hi. Very cool stuff. Thank you for the shout out, Red Gunner Guy, and drawing our attention to this. Next question is from Lamora. Speaking of picking and changing names in the last episode, which pros do you think have the best names in the Korean and foreign scenes? RuFF, I'm going to go to you first. Now, here's the thing. You can't say RuFF. You have to say somebody else.
He was never going to say RuFF.
He was. I can see it on his rough face here.
He was ready to punt it all over again.
So this is a tough one for me, but
yeah,
something that really stands out for me is one-syllable words. I love
like Polt.
Don't say
exactly, just like Polt.
You were gonna say Polt?
Oh, are you telling me to pick a name?
Yeah, that's the question,
out
bro.
of anybody.
It's not just like what syllable count do you like in the name, but
this is a tough one. I gotta think about it.
Yo, I got one. Anal Pro Brush.
Yeah,
easily.
That is.
There you go.
I assume a foreigner and probably not a programmer, but it does count. It checks out. What about Koreans? I like, and this is totally biased, of course, and I just associate with who he is, but I like Jaedong. And I know it's just his fucking name, but it just sounds so cool.
No, I'm with you. It rolls off the tongue really nicely. Like, there's some cool, simple names like Solar, but Jaedong's like iconic.
I like Savior. I'm going to say Savior, too. That name's really awesome. Zest?
What about Zest? I think Zest is cool.
I'm going to go with Flash.
Yeah.
I think as soon as you mentioned Jaedong, I just kind of went back to Brood War.
Yeah. There you Jaedong versus Flash. I mean, that's like just gets me excited. Just saying, it's kind of like holding pocket aces, like that feeling you get. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna change my answer. MMA.
No.
I liked MMA's name a lot, actually.
Boxer was a cool
Boxer.
name.
Yeah.
Boxer was a fucking
That's the correct
cool
answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rifkin.
What a
you got them to say Boxer, so that you helped.
True fact.
For foreigners,
Boxer is my favorite.
All foreigner names suck, I think, except for
Artosis.
I kind of like Cyril. No, Artosis is a beer. It's a city here. Fartosis. When you had that Facebook link with the F in front of your name, it became Fartosis on your own stream. Remember that? He did that. He had this really cool graphic that's like Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, but people.
It's so good.
And Dan's streams it's just such an amazing relationship because there's people being like, "Lol, Fartosis, just like your gameplay," and Dan's like, "Fucking Protoss over here, probably proxy gating." I love it. One of my favorites.
Twitter would be Tartosis too. Oh, it's so
Tartosis,
good, dude. Like,
yeah, it was great. He changed the graphic. Unfortunately, he didn't like.
You got to look out for that thing.
Yeah, no, I think Cyril's cool because I still don't know what that is. What is that?
It's probably like something backwards.
Fisheye was cool. Asmodee, good answer. Fisheye was a cool name. Idra's cool if you know what that was. It was like a god of destruction from India, right, or something like that. One of their gods.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty
Really?
I didn't think that was that cool.
Yeah,
I just thought it was part of any kind of like Mutalisk or something.
Nope.
Like Idra, like at the end.
Best part about Greg too is he was
Dra.
militant atheist, but he was named after a god. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I want from Greg.
It's very interesting.
He was angry at himself the whole time. All right, next question here. Alessander asks, what is one thing you would like people to know about yourself? I I think it would just be that I'm incredibly good in bed. We can get that out
Okay.
there.
I would like people to know that.
Wow. That could
Weird
not.
flex, but okay.
That could not. Did Dan's mic die for you guys? Right?
I think he just disconnected.
Yeah,
He's
yeah. But he
frozen.
said, I would like people to know that, and then it literally fucking dropped him. That is amazing. That is next week's clip, guys. That's it. Wow. And look at him. He's frozen on camera too. This is amazing.
Hello?
There, you're back.
Eternally cover Venom
Actually,
was like having anxiety. He have to do the cameras all over again.
Well, it'd be bad if it was me because the whole show would die, but it's not. It was and you had to say it, didn't you? Dan, you're back again.
Yo. All right. Am I really back now?
Yeah. And you literally said, I would like people to know, and it actually cut off right then.
Well, I'll have to save that for the next episode of the Pylon Show.
Tune in next season.
Yeah. I would like people to know that I really think the European players are very good and their scene is very small. And I really do. I really do.
Yeah.
Everything gets taken out of context and blown out of proportion, and
Yeah, way to go, Ravi.
it's pretty crazy. Oh, it's definitely not his fault. But
I mean, preach it.
It could be, though.
yes.
Let's not rule it out.
I think the European scene is overall stronger than NA. I was talking more about the top a little bit, but anyways, it doesn't matter.
All right.
I love you all. Anyone who puts their time and effort and love into this wonderful game, you have my respect.
Jeez Louise. Rifkin.
I'd like people to know that I, unlike Artosis, don't give in to peer pressure.
Nice. Ruff, what about you, bud?
I don't want to take. People can take this two different ways.
That's the best kind of way to take it, my man.
Don't.
I would like people to know that some.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's the one that gets him. Okay.
Well, we know what's on Jeff's mind right now.
Yeah.
Talking about Kerrigan and
You ever play Sex with Kerrigan in Brood War, that custom game?
No? What?
Just kills her like 10 times in the dark, so she's like, oh.
Oh my
I
God.
actually do remember that from way back when. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I do remember that. But I would like people to know that I don't give two shits about anything, especially when it comes to like if I
Razzing
got
you?
trolls going on, razzing me, like WCS, anything. Like I'm gonna always try to think positively.
Nice.
And probably the only thing that can ever get to me is just maybe the game. I can never single out individuals.
That is admirable, sir. I like that. Good question, Alessandro, of course. Thank you very much. NeosteelEnthusiast asks, you are the monarch of a nation state. What animal will best serve you as a knight of your glorious kingdom? So, Dan, you were worried about this. You were worried about this question not coming up, man. There it is. So hang on. Who wants to, and I'm expecting a pretty good answer here. Who wants to go first? Dan? They're not going to do it.
Clearly, right?
It's just a penguin? That's your answer?
Well, okay, so here's, I guess there needs to be more rules in this, right? Like, for instance, does it have to be knighted normally? We saw the penguin get knighted normally, which means you have to have shoulders, right? You have to be able to stand. So, like, I can't knight a fish, probably.
Shoulders are your criteria? That's your breaking point?
Dan, for this question, you can absolutely knight a fish. I'll allow it. You just have to tap
I could
it
knight a fish?
in a shoulder-like spot. It just has to have you could not pick a single-cell organism or a microscopic organism. You have to be able to touch it in this spot.
Okay, but what if, for instance, like a man-o-war, right? Like a man-o-war is actually a ton of different animals together making a giant animal.
I'll allow it. Do you want to knight a man-o-war?
So I could take, but where are its shoulders? How would you knight this animal?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
You'd have to get out into its environment and place the sword in like the approximate position, because it does have dangling, tentacles, and it has a bulbous top end to it, so you can kind of infer where shoulders would exist should that be necessary for it. And of course, that's impartial to the collective of creatures that form the Manowar. So some would not be getting touched on their shoulder-like spot. You'd have to assume that they form one creature as a symbiotic kind of collection.
Well, I don't think I do the Manowar, but
Okay.
You got to be careful too, right? Because if it's like an electric eel, that could be dangerous. You better wear rubber
The
gloves.
knighting
while
of an
you knight it.
electric eel would be incredibly dangerous for that person, yes.
Yeah. It's a difficult one.
It's a tough one. You guys have some thoughts, Ruff? You look like a guy that knows exactly which animal should be the knighted animal of your monarch kingdom.
A turkey.
Yeah. I like it.
It's tough because like you don't want something like a bear that could kill you,
Or do
right?
you?
Like
That's a perfect knight to me. Bear knight?
okay, kill. What if you're just chilling though, dude, and it freaks out for no reason?
Then that's the right of the knight. It has that power.
Yeah.
In
that's
old
true.
samurai culture, if you made eye contact with samurais, they would decapitate you. And they weren't
Yeah,
they
sounds
weren't
like a
even
real
bears most of
fact.
the time. Yeah. So for me, it's I would probably just go with a very powerful English bulldog. I think they have kind of that. They command that kind of presence. You know what I mean? Like when you see an English bulldog, you can kind of assume it probably has been knighted at some point or another. In this case, it actually has.
All right.
That's what I would do.
I think I'd just do a cat, to be honest.
Just a cat.
It's
That's
kind of
it.
like a black knight, I guess.
Yeah.
Like a death knight of sorts, or kind of evil necromancer.
Yeah, me and my evil cat kingdom. Yeah, because my
Indeed.
logic is
Look at that. That's a
Oh.
knight.
the cat is be your best friend and protect you. Cats are feral as fuck when they need to be, dude.
Ooh, construction guru says honey badger. That is a good answer.
The thing is, do you want something you can command around that will actually listen? Like it could be a parrot, so it can talk. You have a
Good night as well.
parrot that gives,
Yeah.
it gives orders to others.
Pigs are very
Could-
intelligent, despite what people believe.
Mhm.
You could knight like some sort, like a big whale or something. Like, oh my god, it's
Incredible.
Sir Whale, he's coming! And he jumps out of the water and splashes. Everyone goes back.
All right.
The practicality is the best part of that one.
I do believe that is the mileage on this question.
Can anybody take a guess why the turkey? Just out of curiosity.
Good lean.
Because you
name.
like animals that drown in the rain. That's my.
Sir Turk? I don't know.
Yeah. What do you
That's a
got?
good name.
Why?
Because the bald eagle overthrown the turkey.
What?
I still know
that's-
American history
That's right. Yeah, no, I knew
Did it
that.
actually?
by one vote. Yes.
Wow.
A single
We
vote.
do have a tradition of some pretty bad votes, though, to be honest, and that was not one of them.
Oof.
But the fact that it was that close, do I blame Florida? Yeah, I know it's probably before Florida, but the people in that area, right? Anyways. All right, next question. I think we have a couple. No, that was the last one, right? Is
That was the last one?
that the last one, Cobra? Yes.
Huh.
No Fear Dragon question. So I guess the question I have for everyone in our chat, this will be kind of your homework. Has he lost all his passion? Didn't commentate WCS? And now didn't ask a question. Okay, well, and Ravi's in the chat, or somebody on Ravi's account that he might have sold it to for like a sub or something. Thank you guys. This was a great episode. Always a pleasure to have Rifkin on. RuFF first time. Gave his awesome thoughts on his career and his WCS path. Always appreciate that perspective. That is going to do it for us. Before I turn it over to them for some shout outs and asking if anyone's going to stream, and then we'll host them, of course, or something like that. Just want to once again remind you guys that we cannot do this without our amazing people that support us. First and foremost, our team of people. Cobra, slinging out that production, doing a great job. Alessander, doing probably too good of a job surveying the land of StarCraft and coming up with these show notes, which are amazing and available for you guys to check out. So if you're wanting to get involved in some of those online tournaments that have all different skill levels, you will lose to Eric, but we encourage you to compete in them anyways. And that's because she does such a good job just finding all of that. But Alleluia has the incredible job of going through this show and time stamping it He's basically an internet librarian. You guys should all worship the ground that he walks on. And then we have some amazing people that make the show look really nice. Joey, nice username, just recently joined us. But Dark Furs, Lich and Famous, Body Pop, NeoSteel, Diaxis. This show looks really pretty. It flows really nice. And it's because these people give us their talents in the form of labor. Thank you guys so much. There's also other people that support us as well on the Patreon. And some of you guys are insane and support us in a big, big way. That $100 tier, $50 tier, $25, $20, $15. But there are all different shapes and sizes of people that make this possible. We have 400, what was that, 24 or something people that support the show. It's absolutely insane. Thank you guys. We really, really appreciate it. And we also want to give a shout out again to Lycan for AFKT. And then just a final reminder, Patreon. Or not Patreon, Matcherino, excuse me. If you type in Penguin, and if you know how to spell that, you can help us maximize the prize pool for this thing. We're putting together a nice show match. We've got some cool merchandise on there. And we just are really honored and privileged to be partnered with some of these fantastic people. And we appreciate you guys helping us out with that. So that'll do it. I want to first say thank you, Rifkin, for coming back on for his 5th time. Well, I said 9. I was way off. He said 3, though. Which is also pretty off, which is interesting. He was on for a whole episode.
We were both
didn't
wrong.
remember.
We'll just meet in the middle and call it even.
Fair enough. Rifkin, what are you up to, man? What can people do to check you out? And what you've always got tournaments and stuff going on. Tell them about it, please.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Momentum Cup earlier in the show a little bit. That'll be happening tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific. So whether you want to sign up and play, and frankly, we've had a lot of amateurs. Like, it's really cool. We've been having like 20 plus signups every day so far. So if you guys want to play, it's open to anybody. You can be from North America and compete. Doesn't matter. There's no restrictions. If you want to just have a good StarCraft show to watch while you're at work, again, 7 a.m. Pacific, runs about 3.5 to 4 hours. Other than that, the only thing I'd really like to push people for, though, is if you are on at this hour, you should absolutely play in our Direct Strike tournament on Friday. It starts at 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 8 Eastern. It's, again, free signups. Anybody can play. If you don't have a team or you don't have 2 friends, but you play Direct Strike, we actually have a channel set up in our Discord specifically to help pair people up so they can make some kind of ghetto teams, but it's a team that you can compete with. So I'd love to see people come out and play with that. Arcades, I mean, this, let's be real, it's not going to bring a lot of viewers. It's not going to make a lot of money. It's just fun. So I would hope you guys come out and play for it. And again, with $200 plus some prizing, I think you'll get some good bang for your time as well.
It's really fun. It's just super fun. And I don't even like UMS stuff like I was saying, so hopefully you guys will check it out. He's base trade on Twitter as well as Riff_King. And then his channel is Base Trade TV, so check that out. That's where all that stuff's happening. Thank you, Rifkin, for coming on. We appreciate it. It was a long episode, and we love to have your jokes, your laughter, and your opinion here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Is that the wrong account? You just looked up as wrong? Isn't it Riff_King? What is it?
Oh, it's got a Z at the end, but I don't care. My Twitter's just for shit posting. Just follow the Twitch shit, guys. Like, you follow my Twitter, all you're going to see is me liking cute girl selfies and shit posting dumb memes. That's all you're going to see on Twitter. Don't follow me on Twitter.
What else
It's very true.
Yeah. Speaking of...
Actually, it's one of the finest Twitter accounts I've ever run into.
You do
Yeah,
like it?
Artosis gave me that. That was the highest
real.
praise I've ever received. Yeah, real recognize real, dude.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a college education, so just be careful with that. But God, I love that meme, Dan. I'm so sorry. It will run its course. I apologize. I perpetuate it so much.
That's okay.
But Mr. RuFF, thank you for coming on, and I feel like I learned a lot about you. And it's you're a guy I've been watching and doing battle with for years. So it's just a thank you for coming on, giving us your time, and talking about your experience and sharing what you think about the scene. Can you talk a little bit about your stream? I know I don't think you have a schedule, but if you can tell them what it is, where it is, and just talk about yourself.
Yeah, and first off, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
My stream is between 10 p.m. EST to about 2 a.m. EST. So that's roughly, 7 p.m. Pacific Date Time until about, 11 a.m. Sometimes I'll go sooner, sometimes I'll go after. And you can find me at RuFF13 on Twitch. You can also find me on Twitter at Ruff_SC2. And definitely come check it out. It might be your cup of tea. I do a lot of weird stuff on stream, and I'm definitely open to requests. I tend to cater to the audience that does watch it. So
Very,
Just want
very
to
cool.
give a quick shout out, by the way, to InControl's background lighting. I see we have that in common right now.
It just got dark, yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed my background's totally blacked out 100%.
Yeah.
See, I thought my computer was broken after my internet came back, and I just because both of you were dark suddenly, but then the other guys weren't dark, and I was like,
I opened
Very
up a
good.
white page.
It's an international show, man. Ruff's on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. Rifkin is up in the Antarctica area, and you're in Korea. So just the sun and everything, it just changes, man. But Dan,
weird.
I appreciate the memes, the jokes. You're an awesome guy to do the show with. Thank you so much. What are you? I mean, you're
Thanks.
commentating the shit out of a bunch of StarCraft, but you're still streaming. What else you got going on?
Yeah, well, KSL tonight, KSL tomorrow, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, GSL next week, Thursday, Friday, KSL, Saturday, GSL, and then that repeats. Just ridiculous amounts of casting coming up, both KSL and GSL. For myself, obviously, Pylon show every single week, and I stream my gameplay a bunch on different weekdays, and also my new show with In Depth. We just go deep on replays. Yeah, that's it. Just analyze replays like a couple nerds that like to watch replays and talk about them. Yeah, that's about it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, for me, guys, I just want to say it's just a huge pleasure and honor to be doing this content. We like I said, we have these new guests on, or old guests, and it's just such a fun hangout and cool to get to know these guys and talk about this game that we all love. And thank you all for making that very, very much so possible. Please do consider subscribing to my channel and these guys' channels if you have the income or desire. It's a great way to support the people that come on. We love hearing that people come onto the show and then like more people are checking out their channel and their stream or following them on Twitter and stuff like that. Like that is our goal. We want to shine that spotlight on everybody as much as we possibly can. The show's going to keep on rocking. Like I said, I've been saying this each week. I don't think there's any reason why we're going to miss any episodes that I know of coming up, so that's great. We've got some cool guests that we've never had on that we're talking to, and we'll hopefully reveal that when we can nail down a time. I'm gone this weekend. I will not be at WCS, so a lot of you will be really happy to hear that my dry humor will not be gracing your ears, and instead you'll have Rubby, Nathanius, and Zombie Grove.
Fear Dragon Unbullied? I'm excited.
Well, no, Zombie Grove's still there, thankfully.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I would not allow for him to go a weekend without being tormented, of course, as my cold black heart knows nothing but murder. I will be at a Warhammer tournament, ironically, in Burbank, actually. So if you are interested in that kind of stuff, I tweet about it, I Instagram about it, and that's all iNcontroLTV. Thank you to everyone that made this all possible. I think we're going to host... Ruff, are you streaming after this?
Yes,
I will be. Yeah.
Okay.
This is my stream schedule.
So you guys can check out Ruff and check out the base rate stuff, and we'll see you all later. Goodbye. Bye-bye, jazz hands.